Not good. Upon seeing this, Qinglong's eyes glowed green. In an instant, the branches around the hole grew wildly, trying to block the hole. But at the moment when the hole was about to be blocked, a golden light rose into the sky. Then a voice came. I almost got trapped in there. Qinglong looked up and saw a young man hanging in the air. It was Father Yang. Qinglong's eyes narrowed slightly. A fierce flash of light flashed in his eyes. He turned the corner of his mouth and continued to smile. Even the forest sea of death can't trap you. You really make me look forward to it more and more. After Qinglong finished speaking, he waved his claws. The sea of trees on the ground began to wither and disappear at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, a lush green primeval forest was exposed again. However, there is also a giant white skeleton lying on the forest, which is particularly dazzling. Father Yang looked at the giant skeleton on the ground with a solemn expression. Only more than a minute had passed since he was trapped and escaped. Unexpectedly, in just over a minute, the 2-kilometer-tall red-faced ghost was completely corroded by the poisonous mist inside. But soon, granulation sprouts slowly emerged from the white bones. The granulation sprouts grew faster and faster, reforming muscles, internal organs, blood vessels, and meridians in just a few seconds. Suck. Taking a deep breath, the red-faced ghost came back to life. He looked at himself in disbelief and said to himself in surprise, I'm alive again. After saying that, he thought of Father Yang and Qinglong again and quickly looked up. When he saw Father Yang intact, he breathed a sigh of relief. You know, his behavior is a complete betrayal. If Father Yang dies and Manhwa starts to settle scores, he will definitely have a difficult life in the future. Fortunately, he hasn't made a mistake yet. Thinking about it, he looked at Qinglong again. When he saw the guy with a faint smile on his face, the red-faced ghost suddenly felt horrified. He climbed up and ran behind his father and said cautiously, Sir, are you okay? The old man is very energetic. If you are afraid, stay away. Father Yang said angrily. The red-faced ghost's little thought was poked at him, and he laughed awkwardly. He quickly picked up the mace on the ground and ran towards the distance. He didn't stop until he was 10 kilometers away and secretly looked this way. Ignoring the red-faced ghost who left, Father Yang looked at Qinglong and said, If you have any other tricks, just use them. The old man will take over. Qinglong shook his head and said, No, I don't like procrastination. There are more important things waiting for me to do. What do you want? One move. Qinglong raised a claw. Okay, then one move. Father Yang nodded. To be honest, the more he stayed in this world of mountains and rivers, the more he felt that this small world had a magical power. It seemed that his body was slowly adapting to this world and being assimilated by it. This is not a good sign. Readily, Qinglong laughed and suddenly shouted, Dragon form! Crack! His several-kilometer-long body began to squirm, and his bones made crackling sounds, as if they were being rearranged, and there was a look of pain on his face. Half a minute passed like this. What was originally a giant dragon several kilometers long turned into a dragon man over 3 meters tall. Wanlin strangled. The draconian raised his arms. In an instant, the endless forest beneath him sprouted branches, densely shooting toward Father Yang. If viewed from a distance, this sea of forest blocks out the sky and the sun, like locusts, and like a wave of green and black overlapping, rushing towards Father Yang. Even the red-faced ghost behind Yang felt his scalp numb and hurriedly ran backwards. Oh my God, but Father Yang was unfazed. Whether you can get out of the Shanha Sheiji too depends on this. He took a small breath and shouted loudly, Yulong Jiobu, start! Whoosh! Whoosh! 9 figures flew out from behind him. 9 figures all pointed their swords at the sky. Tianchu! Crack! Crack! 9 bolts of lightning fell from the sky and landed on the sword's finger, while Yang Lao held the golden Tang sword in his right hand and stared at the rushing Lin Hai with sharp eyes. Kill! Hu-ho-ho! 9 bolts of lightning slashed towards the lightning. For a while, there were constant explosions between heaven and earth. Lightning struck Lin Hai continuously, destroying Lin Hai, and the Lin Hai behind him continued in succession. The whole scene looks like God is sending down punishment to drive out demons. Finally, the originally monstrous Lin Hai was struck by lightning and a huge gap was opened, revealing the green dragon wrapped in it. When Father Yang saw this, he narrowed his eyes, flashed, and slashed with his sword. Tianchu. What? For a moment, golden thunder and lightning continued to magnify in Qinglong's sight. The next second, Lin Hai turned into tiny particles and collapsed. Qinglong looked down at the golden cracks on his body, then looked up at Father Yang in front of him, with a look of relief on his face. I lost, murmured. The words fell. The green dragon dissipated little by little. The dense forest on the ground withered instantly, turning into sand and dissipating. This is this. Seeing this strange scene, Father Yang frowned. The red-faced ghost behind him said happily, "My lord, the Eastern world is about to collapse, and we will regain our freedom." What do you mean? Old man Yang hadn't asked yet. A white light illuminated the surroundings. When his vision was clear again, there was a figure of a woman with a gloomy face in front of him. Manhwa? Am I coming out? Old man Yang looked around hurriedly. It was the landform before he entered the mountain and river society map. The scenery did not change. Instead, the light in the huge scroll in the sky slowly faded, revealing four metal skeletons. So that's it, the Azure Dragon is the last core. Old man Yang seemed to understand. In addition to the old man, tens of millions of strange beasts suddenly appeared in the air. After being stunned for half a second, these tens of millions of strange beasts swarmed in all directions. In just a few seconds, there were no other strange beasts in the sky except the white tiger, the red bird, the black tortoise, and the red-faced ghost on the ground. Ha! After thousands of years, I'm finally free. The red-faced ghost laughed loudly while lying on the ground. The Suzaku and white tiger, who were suspended in the air, were also stunned for a moment, and their faces were filled with surprise. How many years have it been? My white tiger is finally out. White tiger sighed. The mountains and rivers around here have changed too much from the mountains and rivers in his memory, and there are many different smells in the air, but this world gives him a strong sense of familiarity. It closed its eyes and slowly felt the breeze on its face. Primordial. Looking at White Tiger's intoxicated face, Suzaku's eyes were red. Just when everyone was immersed in joy, a delicate shout suddenly brought everyone back to their senses. You actually destroyed the mountains and rivers of this god. You deserve to die. This squeak woke up everyone who was immersed in joy. Zhuke and Baihu both looked at Manhwa. Suzaku turned to look at Baihu and lowered his voice. What should I do? Baihu's eyes were burning, and he licked the corner of his mouth and said, thousands of years ago, she had the map of mountains, rivers, and the state, which overwhelmed us. Now that the map of the mountains, rivers, state, and state has been destroyed, what do we have to fear? Suzaku's eyes gradually became sharp, and he said, yes, today, it's time to find this Samba to calculate the general ledger. At this time, the red-faced ghost on the ground was stunned subconsciously. When he saw Manhwa's gloomy face, he said blankly, Manhwa, Empress. But he was quickly stopped by Baihu's voice. Baihu said loudly, Manhwa, back then you used the map of the mountains and rivers to forcefully subjugate us. Now we need the help of this adult to escape from the mountains and rivers world. We should settle this account. Zhuke also said loudly, Manhwa, you have imprisoned us for thousands of years, and today it's time to pay us back. Listening to the sound above his head, the red-faced ghost also reacted, grabbed the mace, and shouted, Manhwa, you stinky itch, you have kept me in prison for so many years. Why don't I beat you today and accept you? As Mrs. Yajai, I won't be a red-faced ghost. Father Yang said, Manhwa, without the map of mountains and rivers, your death has come. The words fell. Two more figures flew over. Two of them were Lin Yi and Luo Fan. And us. Xiao Lin, Xiao Luo, have you two boys taken care of that big guy? Father Yang turned around and asked. That big guy was useless, and we killed him with just one move. Lin Yi said coolly. Luo Fan also nodded in agreement. Father Yang laughed and said, okay, very good. Smiling, he turned to look at Manhwa and shouted, Manhwa, if you get good luck, you will get a lot of help, but if you get bad luck, you will get little help. Today is your day to die. The words fell. Ha 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 ha. Manhwa seemed to have heard something funny, and started to laugh, causing the two big balls on her chest to tremble violently. For a while, then she slowly stopped and looked at everyone with dangerous eyes. especially Father Yang. Nuwa said word by word. You guys, you want to kill me? Are you worthy of killing me? Can you kill me too? After the words fell, another voice came. What about me? Nuwa felt that the voice was somewhat familiar and couldn't help but turn her head to look. When she saw the huge black shadow in the sky, her pupils shrank suddenly, and she said in disbelief, It's you? Yes, it's me. The person who came was none other than Black Dragon King Ao Xian. Ao Xian said, turned to look at Father Yang and the others, and said, Ao Xian has met Father, Base Master Lin, and Base Master Luo. Dad, who is this guy? He seems to know us. He is so powerful. Luo Fan lowered his voice and asked Dad Yang. Father Yang thought for a moment and said, It should be that boy's pet. However, in order to find out more, he still asked loudly, I wonder how this brother Ao Xian knows us? Ao Xian was not annoyed, but laughed and said, I am the Lord of Dawn City, Jiang Cheng's first servant, nicknamed Black Dragon King. It's normal for you not to know that I have been following orders since the Imperial City was conquered by my master. Guarding the Imperial City, I have never been to the City of Dawn. So that's it. Father Yang nodded, and then quickly said into the headset, Boy Jiang, I have a black dragon here. It's called Ao Xian. He says he is your servant. Is this true? Soon, Jiang Cheng's voice sounded. Ao Xian is here. Old man, wait a minute. I'll be right over. As the words fell, a figure suddenly appeared next to everyone. Old man, this guy is my pet and servant, Ao Xian. The sound rang in my ears. Everyone looked at it. Chief, why are you here in person? Chief, it's fine as long as we are here. Master, you are here. You brat, what are you doing here? Seeing this, Luo Fan, Lin Yi, and the Black Dragon King all saluted, but Father Yang cursed in displeasure. Jiang Cheng smiled and said, Ao Xian is here, so I'm here to take a look. Also, I'm very curious about the guy you've been looking for 3 days, Dad. Except for Yang Lao and others, the White Tiger and Suzaku in the sky looked puzzled at the young man who suddenly appeared and his friendly attitude towards Yang Lao and him. Suzaku said, This person seems to have a good relationship with that adult. Baihu shook his head and said, I can't see through him. As he said that, the two looked at each other. Since they couldn't see through it, they stayed aside quietly. As for the red-faced ghost, looking at the sudden appearance of Jiang Cheng and the way he acted like a superior, especially the way he talked to Father Yang, he thought to himself, Grandma, this guy must be an awesome person. It seems that even the adults have given in to him, so he is definitely right. So, while Jiang Cheng and Yang Yang were chatting, with a loud shout, he knelt down and said, The little red-faced ghost has seen 2 adults. Listening, Jiang Cheng turned his head to look at the crimson giant kneeling on the ground and smiled. Who are you? And why do you kneel to me when we meet? I remember we have never met before. The red-faced ghost didn't care about so much and hurriedly said, My lord, you saved me, and you seem to have such a close relationship with me. So I boldly guessed that you should be my lord's grandson, so I dare to call you my lord. And I have admired you for a long time, and I hope to join the city of Dawn you mentioned and contribute my insignificant strength to the construction of the city. After the voice fell, Baihu and Zhuke secretly said shameless. Jiang Cheng, on the other hand, was provoked by the red-faced ghost's words and laughed out loud. Ha! Old man, you found an interesting guy. After laughing, Jiang Cheng looked at the red-faced ghost with burning eyes and said, Do you really want to join my Dawn City? I want to dream about it. Dawn City can produce a strong man like Lord Yang. Its depth of foundation is not comparable to others, not to mention that I, the red-faced ghost, have been in the Mountain River Society map for 1,000 years. Now that I have come out, I don't know where the ghost clan is, so I don't know where to go. After thinking about it, it is most appropriate to join you. The red-faced ghost said sincerely. Jiang Cheng nodded and said, You said it well, but my Dawn City also has its own rules. At this point, Jiang Cheng's voice suddenly became cold, and he said, Once you join my Dawn City, you must never betray me forever, otherwise I will personally hunt him down to the ends of the earth. After speaking, a strong pressure from Jiang Cheng pressed towards the red-faced ghost. In an instant, the red-faced ghost felt like he was being pressed down by a huge mountain, making it hard for him to breathe. His entire body was covered in cold sweat, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His hands were sunk deep into the ground, his eyes were wide open, and his pupils were trembling violently. What a terrifying pressure! An existence more powerful than my father, like a mountain. This sentence suddenly popped up in the mind of the red-faced ghost. His eyes, as big as lanterns, looked at Jiang Cheng with indescribable complexity. Do you still want to join the Dawn City? Jiang Cheng looked directly at the red-faced ghost. I. The red-faced ghost trembled. Then his eyes gradually became firm and said, I am willing. I want to join the Dawn City. The ghost clan has disappeared from the world for 1,000 years. Where can he go alone as a ghost? Before, Manhwa imprisoned it in the map of mountains, rivers, and states for 1,000 years. This extreme loneliness has no end. Like the days covered with layer after layer of thick fog, he no longer wants it. I am willing. The red-faced ghost knocked his forehead to the ground. Seeing this scene, Jiang Cheng smiled. It seems that my Dawn City has added a new member. Father Yang sighed. What do you mean? The red-faced ghost slowly raised his head and looked at Father Yang in disbelief. Father Yang smiled and said, Don't you want to join my Dawn City? The leader agreed. The red-faced ghost didn't understand Jiang Cheng's meaning, and he kowtowed to Jiang Cheng 3 times. Thank you, leader. I, the red-faced ghost, swear that I will be a ghost of dawn in this life, and I will still be a ghost of dawn in death. Jiang Cheng smiled and said, My dawn doesn't have so many rules. Get up. Thank you, leader. The red-faced ghost quickly got up from the ground, and the joy on his face was beyond words. He had a little more yearning for the Dawn City he mentioned. The Suzaku and White Tiger in the sky looked at him, with complicated expressions on their faces. Zhuke looked at the red-faced ghost on the ground with complicated eyes. Is it so good to join the human race? White Tiger shook his head and said, I don't know. Thousands of years ago, although there were spirit beasts that surrendered to the human race, in the end, the human race and spirit beasts are clearly divided. Just when the red-faced ghost was immersed in the joy of joining the City of Dawn, an unfriendly voice sounded on the side. What the hell is the City of Dawn? Are you ignoring this god? Manhwa scolded everyone in anger. Even her long, straight blue hair like a waterfall was scattered in anger. Just as the voice fell. Noisy, Jiang Cheng said lightly, accompanied by a crisp slap. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound, but they saw a scene that shocked them all their lives. Manhwa's beautiful face was raised high to the upper left, and her right face was even higher. You dare to hit me? Manhwa looked at Jiang Cheng in disbelief. Since she was born, no one dared to treat her like this, not even once, not even in front of the ancestor gods. But when she met Jiang Cheng's eyes, she was stunned again. What a pair of indifferent eyes, so indifferent that she didn't even take her seriously, so that she couldn't even find her own reflection in those black eyes. I was ignored, Manhwa said in a daze, but when she reacted, her facial features gradually twisted, her body trembled, and her slender hands, the 5 fingers were stiffly bent, until finally, she seemed to be crazy, shouting hysterically. No one dares to do this to me. No one. I am one of the 6 saints, Manhwa. Today, if I don't kill you, it will be difficult to eliminate the hatred in my heart. Red hydrangea, call. Instantly, the sky was rolling with red clouds, like thousands of soldiers and horses, galloping. Crack. A thunderclap. The red clouds seemed to have a crack, and there was endless darkness inside. When people looked at it, they almost sucked their sight into it and fell into an endless abyss. Suddenly, a red light flew out from the black crack and landed in Manhwa's hand, revealing its true form. Jiang Cheng looked over. It was a bright red ribbon, at the end of which was a round red hydrangea, which was the same as the red hydrangea used in ancient times to worship heaven and earth, except that it was much larger in size. With the red hydrangea in hand, Manhwa raised her right hand and shouted again, Manhwa sword, come out. In a flash, a long sword flew from the clouds, so fast that the hilt of the sword dragged a layer of transparent black sound barrier, and when it rubbed against the air, it made bursts of whistling sounds. The long sword flew over, and the hilt hovered in Manhwa's hand. It's quite powerful, but I don't know how powerful it is. Jiang Cheng smiled. The ignorant are fearless. Nuwa gritted her teeth and squeezed out a few words, shook her left hand, and the red hydrangea broke through the air and turned into a red stream of light and smashed towards Jiang Cheng. Chief, be careful. The red-faced ghost saw this and reminded hurriedly. Even the Suzaku and White Tiger in the sky were sweating. According to legend, Nuwa had several protective magic weapons, which were given by the ancestors and contained supreme power. The most powerful of them are 5 elements magic weapon, 5 spirit beads, space magic weapon, mountain and river map, power magic weapon, red hydrangea, destruction magic weapon, Nuwa sword. Among these magic weapons, the red hydrangea is the most terrifying. Those who are hit by it usually turn into meat paste without knowing it. And under such a powerful force, the red hydrangea also has a most special ability. Those who are hit cannot dodge and can only take it head-on. White Tiger said with a heavy face, "This human race is in trouble." Suzaku looked at White Tiger and said tentatively, "Do you want to help?" White Tiger smiled bitterly and said, "Do you think we can stop it?" "This is the red hydrangea," the vermilion bird said with fiery eyes. "How do you know that you can't stop it if you don't try? I've been frustrated for thousands of years. Even if I die, it's a glorious time." But Baihu wanted to say something. "Coward, I'll go first." The vermilion bird had already turned into a stream of fiery red light and flew out, which made Baihu feel bitter. After thinking about it, he simply gritted his teeth and said, "The beast dies and the bird flies to the sky. I will not die for thousands of years. Anyway, there is only one white tiger left in the world, so let's do it." After saying that, Baihu looked at the red hydrangea and turned into a gust of wind and flew away. In a flash, the vermilion bird had already blocked the red hydrangea and shouted, "The true body of the vermilion bird, the divine fire destroys the world." Cry. The fiery red beak screamed, the red light in the eyes shot up to the sky, the wings spread, and the red fire feathers burned with blazing golden flames, and it was about to rush towards the red hydrangea. But in the next second, a gust of green wind blew. Zhuge paused, and although he looked disdainful, he unconsciously raised a beautiful smile at the corner of his mouth. "Little white cat, aren't you not coming?" In the wind, a white giant tiger said, "You are a female beast, and you have done it. If I don't do it, I'm afraid that I will be laughed at when I go out in the future." "Umph, you look so good," Zhuge scolded. Baihu spoke again at this time, and said in a serious tone, "I'm ready to do it." "Yeah." Zhuchue's face became solemn again. The two beasts looked at each other, and both saw determination in each other's eyes. Baihu roared to the sky, as if showing the world his identity as a king. White Tiger's true body, the breeze erodes the bones. "Let's go." The two beasts completely turned into 2 rays of light, one red and one white, and rushed towards the red hydrangea. "Leader, Zhuge and Baihu?" The red-faced ghost said anxiously. He knew how strong the red hydrangea was. Jiang Cheng looked in the direction of Suzaku and Baihu. His hands flickered with light behind his back. His eyes were calm as he said, "Don't panic. Let's see first. You think you can stop the red ball? You are overestimating yourself." Nuwa saw Zhuge and Baihu rushing towards the red ball without hesitation, and her face was full of sarcasm. At this time, the 2 streams of light transformed by Zhuge and Baihu were getting closer and closer to the red ball. There was a loud bang. 2 rays of light hit the red ball. But even with such power, the speed of the red ball was only slightly slowed down. "Good. Such a strong power. I can't stand it anymore," Zhuge said with difficulty. Baihu's face was also flushed, and his bones even made a creaking sound, almost falling apart. But he gritted his teeth and insisted, "I have to stand it even if I can't." "Ha!" Nuwa sneered, pointed out a ray of light with one hand, and sank into the red ball. The next moment, Zhuge and Baihu only felt a powerful force dispersing their strength, even shattering their internal organs. Puff! Puff! Both beasts vomited 2 balls of blood mist. Zhuchue's body softened, and he said weakly, "You must live." Then he fell down at a high speed. Zhuge. Baihu wanted to reach out to grab it, but he was also seriously injured. When he reached out, the injuries in his body were affected, and his body softened and fell down. Without the obstruction of the 2 beasts, The speed of the red ball continued to increase, and even sparks were rubbed on both sides, rushing towards Jiang Cheng. "Leader, get out of the way!" the red-faced ghost shouted. Jiang Cheng did not move, with the word indifferent on his face. Seeing this, the red-faced ghost shouted to his father again. "Sir, run! The red ball is coming." Father Yang also put his hands behind his back and smiled without saying a word. The red-faced ghost then looked at Lin Yi and Luo Fan. The two were only 9th level, but they also had a calm expression on their faces and even had a confident smile. What is going on? The red-faced ghost was confused and anxious. When he met Manhwa, the power he was proud of collapsed directly under the attack of the red hydrangea, which also caused him to be subdued by the mountain and river map before he could escape. So he always had a shadow in his heart about the red hydrangea. But seeing that several people did not move, he subconsciously wanted to escape alone. But as soon as the idea came up, he was immediately denied. "No, now everyone in the City of Dawn is here. If I run away alone, what if these people survive? Then wouldn't it be equivalent to betrayal?" Thinking about it, the red-faced ghost thought again. What if he didn't run away and was crushed to death here? Although the ghost clan can be resurrected infinitely, this is also under the condition that the core is not destroyed. In the mountain and river map, he can use the bonus of the mountain and river map to revive continuously, even if the core is destroyed. But if it were in the real world, it would have been destroyed by Qinglong's move. Run or not? The red-faced ghost was in a dilemma. Soon, the red ball was less than 100 meters away from them and was about to hit them. The red-faced ghost simply gritted his teeth and said, "Damn, let's take a gamble." The leader is so confident, he must have his own confidence. The worst that can happen is death. Anyway, the ghost tribe is gone, and I, the only male in the ghost tribe, will definitely not be able to find a girl. Thinking of this, the red-faced ghost faced the red ball calmly, as if he was determined. On the other side, Manhwa grinned and said, "Go to hell." As she spoke, the red ball had already arrived in front of them. At the last second before hitting them, Jiang Cheng punched directly. No true energy was mobilized, no superpowers were used. It was an ordinary punch. Is the leader crazy? The red-faced ghost looked at Jiang Cheng's move and immediately regretted it. "I should have run away. You hit me with one punch like this. Do you think you are the ancestor god? I guess even the ancestor gods wouldn't dare to do this. Damn, it's over, my ghost life is over. I didn't expect that I was still a virgin ghost before I died." Just when the red-faced ghost was in despair, a shocking scene happened. Bang! Where Jiang Cheng's fist met the red hydrangea, a circle of shock waves spread out to the surroundings. But it was only a short moment. The red hydrangea suddenly changed direction and flew backwards in the opposite direction, and the speed of the flight was twice as fast as the speed of the previous collision. "Give it back to you," Jiang Cheng said. At this moment, the red-faced ghost was shocked. Did he see the time? The leader's ordinary punch knocked the red hydrangea away. Is this something a human can do? This is too bizarre. Even operas don't dare to perform like this. Not only the red-faced ghost, but also the dying white tiger and Suzaku who were lying on the ground suddenly opened their eyes wide when they saw the flying red hydrangea. If they were not seriously injured, they would almost jump up. White tiger. Ahem, Suzaku, I am hallucinating. I actually saw the human punch the red hydrangea away. Suzaku. Maybe it's a hallucination before death? I heard from my ancestors that before Suzaku dies, the scene he wants to see the most will appear in front of his eyes. Will Suzaku die? Can't you be reborn from the ashes? White Tiger asked curiously. I am Suzaku, not Phoenix. I will emphasize it again before I die. As for Yang Lao, Lin Yi, and Luo Fan, although they thought that the leader could easily catch the red hydrangea, they did not expect that it would be so easy. Just one punch. It's still the kind that doesn't use real energy and superpowers. This is too powerful. This brat's strength is getting more and more terrifying. Father Yang muttered to himself. Except for the shocked people. The one who couldn't believe it the most was Manhwa. She looked at her blown balloon, her lips trembling, and she wanted to say something, but it felt stuck in her throat. Her eyes widened, and her pupils trembled slightly. She didn't recover until the red hydrangea flew out of the blue star. Looking at Jiang Cheng again, she no longer had the arrogance she had before, but only had endless fear. Is this still a human being? Even the ancestor gods can't do it. She is a strong person on the planetary level. Hong Hyankyu has already touched the power of the planetary level with one blow. It was Jiang Cheng's voice that brought her back to reality. I thought you would give me some surprises, but I didn't expect it was just a bluff. I'm very disappointed. Go to hell. Hearing these words, Nuwa suddenly came back to her senses, then hurriedly squeezed out the Nuwa sword and shouted, 10,000 swords break the sky. The words fell. The body of Nuwa's sword shook. Then, countless sword shadows flew out from Nuwa's sword, blooming with blue light in the air. Edict. Nuwa made sword secrets with her hands, and her fingers pointed out the spiritual light. With a hiss, the Nuwa sword in his hand turned into a stream of light and flew into the air. 10,000 swords unite into one. Nuwa drank again. Countless sword shadows in the void converged towards Nuwa's sword again, and the sword became brighter and brighter. The sky, which was originally daytime, was completely filled with dazzling blue light. Its brightness was even greater than that of the sun. Zheng. The sword buzzed, and Nuwa's sword began to emit sword energy that reached the sky, condensing into a giant lightsaber with a diameter of 100 kilometers. Finally, Nuwa stepped forward a little, her body merged into the sword light, and shouted, Behead! Call out! She merged with the sword body and turned into sword light. This sword light surpassed the speed of light and even touched the threshold of time. Wherever the sword passed, the surrounding scenery began to play back. The battle scenes in the past few days turned into scenes of canvas playing around the sword. If you look at it from the side, Nuwa seemed to disappear in an instant without leaving even a trace. Just in this moment, Jiang Cheng pointed out his finger calmly. The first of the 3 gods destroying swords. Kill the god. A barely detectable red mark flashed in the air. The supreme sword energy condensed by the Nuwa sword dissipated silently in an instant, and even Nuwa herself stood there in a daze. Her pupils were wide open, and her body seemed to be fixed by a spell. For a long time, Nuwa turned her head stiffly to look at Jiang Cheng. Her lips slightly opened, and she wanted to say something, but a red mark appeared on her neck, and blood flowed from the red mark. Her head tilted back and fell directly from her neck, rolling to the ground, with an expression of disbelief on her face. As her head was cut off, Nuwa's body, which was dozens of miles tall, seemed to melt, turning into a pool of mud, seeping through the ground, leaving only a crystal stone on the ground that was shining with brown light. Nuwa destroy? What just happened? The red-faced ghost looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He didn't even know how Jiang Cheng made his move. He only saw the other party raise his hand, and Nuwa's head fell to the ground. This is too fantastic. One move to kill Nuwa? It dared not even think about it. Father Yang was the same. He saw Jiang Cheng take action last time, and before he knew it, his leader had grown to be able to kill a planetary being with one move. Lin Yi and Luo Fan were even more shocked. Lin Yi muttered to himself with a complicated expression, He is stronger. Luo Fan also sighed and said, Yes, we are getting farther and farther away from him. The Black Dragon King on the side swallowed hard. One move to kill Nuwa? Is this something a human can do? It turns out that the master still held back on him that day. Except for the people in the city of Dawn, Zhuke and Baihu, who were lying on the ground, stared blankly ahead. Zhuke, big cat, I seem to be hallucinating. Baihu, me too. Maybe it's a hallucination before death. Suzaku, what did you see? Baihu, Nuwa was killed in one move. Suzaku said with a smile. I actually had the same hallucination as you. Is this fate? As the 2 beasts chatted, Jiang Cheng waved at the crystal on the ground, and the crystal automatically flew into his palm. After putting the crystal into the Godfall ring, Jiang Cheng turned his head and looked at Old Man Yang and said, The aftermath is left to you, old man. By the way, there is this. Jiang Cheng took out 2 Baichao pills and handed them over. Say, if the 2 beasts over there can be recruited, feed them this. If they can't be recruited, just throw them 2 bottles of spiritual water. That's about it. I'm leaving first. Waving his hand, Jiang Cheng flashed away, leaving Old Man Yang with a dazed look. For a long while, Father Yang reacted, looked at the 2 Baichao pills in his hand with a smile and scolded. This brat is getting more and more careless. As he said, he squeezed the Baichao pill and flew to Suzaku and Baihu. At the same time, Suzaku and Baihu were getting weaker and weaker. Just when they thought their lives were about to end, a voice sounded in their ears. Join the City of Dawn, and you will get an opportunity. Of course, if you don't join, I can temporarily suppress your injuries. Choose it. The two beasts were stunned and wanted to turn their heads to look at the direction where the voice came from. But their bodies were too weak, and they didn't even have the strength to turn their heads, so they could only look at each other. Zhuke. Baihu. I seem to be hallucinating. Baihu, me too. Zhuke, how is it? Do you want to join? Baihu. Why do you hear the same thing as me? At this point, both of them saw the answer from each other's eyes, and said in unison the next second, we agree to join. As soon as the voice fell, Zhuke and Baihu both felt something stuffed into their mouths. Then, a cool feeling spread from their mouths down their throats. After a while, the two beasts stood up in high spirits. This is recovered. Zhuke was a little shocked by what he had eaten. You know, they are 10th level beasts. They know very well that the most precious spiritual herbs on the entire blue star cannot make them recover immediately. And this pill can actually revive them with full blood on the spot. This pill must be extremely precious. Thinking of this, the two beasts looked at Father Yang, and then half knelt on the ground under Father Yang's surprised eyes, leaning their heads against the ground, and said in unison, Thank you for the medicine, sir. From today on, we are the beasts of the City of Dawn. Father Yang waved his hand and said, You don't have to thank me. Thank the leader if you want to thank him. He prepared this specially for you. Speaking of the leader, a flash of surprise flashed in the eyes of the two beasts, and they all thought of the environment they had just seen, so they turned their heads and looked. When they saw a pool of muddy water on the ground with a human voice and a snake's tail printed on it, they were a little bit unbelievable. Vermilion bird, what I saw was real. White tiger, Nuo was killed by someone. The two beasts muttered and looked at Father Yang as if asking. Father Yang smiled and said, It was the masterpiece of the leader, but it was just Nuo. What's the point of it? It was actually true. Nuo was really killed by the leader. It was the kind that killed her in 1 second. How strong must one be to be able to kill a planetary-level warrior in one move? The two could see shock on each other's faces. A few minutes later, Father Yang led everyone to clean up the battlefield and rescued Yi Chun, who was trapped by Nuo, and then said, Black Dragon King, please send Yi Chun back to the Imperial City. The Black Dragon King shook his head and said, It's a small matter. As he spoke, his eyes lit up slightly, and he controlled Yi Chun's body to float up and finally landed on his back, and then said, Captain Yang, Master Luo Ji, Master Lin Ji, and others, I'm leaving first. Take care of yourself. After the words fell, he turned into a black stream of light and disappeared into the sky. Watching the Black Dragon King leave, Father Yang did not stay any longer and immediately called everyone to fly towards the City of Dawn together. Kunlun Mountains. There is a natural cave in a mountain that is like a stone pillar, with a smooth top like a mirror, shining like a mirror, and piercing the sky. In the center of the cave is a jade coffin. The coffin was very large, almost 100 meters long, dozens of meters wide, and dozens of meters high. The upper part of the coffin was engraved with the sky, earth, sun, moon, and stars, and the lower part was engraved with mountains, rivers, trees, birds, beasts, insects, and fish. The coffin was locked by 9 chains and hung in the center of the cave, which looked very impressive. But at the same time when Nuo died, the coffin suddenly vibrated. Then with a bang, the coffin exploded. A handsome man in a white robe, with snow-white hair, a peerless face, and closed eyes appeared in the Xia cave. The man slowly opened his eyes, revealing a pair of star-like eyes. The man slowly spoke to himself. Nuo is dead. After he finished speaking, he suddenly laughed. Ha 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 ha. Interesting, interesting. I can actually kill Nuo. This world is finally not so boring. After laughing, the man turned into a stream of light and flew into the sky. Pacific Ocean. The Bermuda Triangle. An island slowly rose from the seabed. In the center of the island, a magnificent palace stood in it. There was a plaque on the palace with the words, Golden Turtle written on it. However, this palace had no entrance, no windows, and no exit. It was like a box, or more like a tomb. In the palace lay a black coffin. There were 9 dragons on the coffin, and 4 rusty swords were inserted on the walls facing the 4 corners of the coffin. The coffin was also blocked by 9 chains, but these 9 chains had been rusted for many years. At the moment when Manhwa died, the coffin shook. With another bang, the coffin exploded. A handsome man in a black robe, with black hair all over his body, long black hair, and a grayish face appeared in the palace. The man slowly opened his eyes. His eyeballs were as black as ink. He murmured to himself, "Manhwa was killed. It seems that this planet seems to be more interesting. I don't know if my 2 brothers have woken up. I guess they have." At this point, the man smiled and said, "It's just right for me to take a look at what the world has become 4,000 years later." After saying that, the man hooked his finger. The 4 long swords on the wall made a buzzing sound. With a clang, it was pulled out from the wall and slowly flew towards the man. The man looked at the 4 long swords floating in front of him gently and said softly, "For 1,000 years, my old friend, this time, let me spread the dark light of Jiejiao to every corner of the blue planet." As he said that, along with the 4 long swords, he turned into a black stream of light and flew out of the palace. 5 kilometers below Baiying Mountain, a clay statue suddenly cracked, revealing an eyeball with a yin-yang fish pattern. The eyeball rotated. The cracks on the clay statue began to spread like a spider web. Finally, there was a bang. The clay statue completely cracked, revealing a handsome man with long hair. Half of his body was black and the other half was pure white. The man held a whisk in his left hand and a metal ring on his right wristband, muttering to himself, "For 1,000 years have passed, and I didn't expect that the Saint Manhwa would go first. What a pity." After saying that, his body flashed and turned into a light spot and disappeared on the spot. Asen Kingdom. 10 kilometers below the capital, 2 statues suddenly exploded. 4,000 years are just a blink of an eye. It's really like a dream, Jiang. An old man with a miserable face said slowly. All things are conditioned. One thought is 4,000 years. The ancestors are coming, and it's our turn to be born. Another old man with a miserable face muttered. The 2 looked at each other, transformed into 2 golden streams of light, rushed out of the ground, suspended above the capital of Asen, and transformed into 2 Buddhas, emitting thousands of golden lights. At this time, on the street, an adult man from Asen was being chased by a mutant. It was about to catch up. Just when Asen was desperate, he suddenly saw 2 golden lights blooming in the sky. The mutant that was chasing him suddenly stopped, roaring at him, but did not dare to move forward, as if afraid of something. "This is this Shiva's spirit," the man murmured. But the next moment, an illusory voice sounded in the sky. "There is no Bodhi tree, and the spiritual realm is not a platform. There is nothing originally, so where can dust arise? My Buddha is merciful and should save people from suffering. Mortal, are you willing to join my Western religion and enjoy the Western paradise?" "Buddha? It's Buddha," the man chanted twice, and suddenly a plump woman with slightly dark skin, a red beauty mole on the center of her eyebrows, thin eyebrows, and big eyes appeared in front of him. The woman was holding a child and waving at him slowly, and said to him faintly, "Vidi, come here quickly." "Hannah, Nick?" The man's eyes were red. The woman in front of him and the child in her arms were his wife who died in the zombie tide. At that time, he was chased by zombies and was extremely frightened. He didn't have time to save his wife and child. When he ran a long way, he found that his wife and child were gone. When he returned to look for them later, he only saw a pair of intestines on the ground and a broken arm with a bracelet. He really regretted it at that time. Now he saw his wife and son appear in front of him. How could the man not be excited, and hurriedly shouted, "Hannah, Nick, I'm coming." The man ran towards his wife as soon as he finished speaking. Just when he was about to touch the woman, a gray-blue stream of light fell from the sky, shot through his head, and sank into his body. Instantly, the man fell to the ground, and the blood dyed the ground red. But soon, the man trembled. He stood up again crookedly, but his skin turned gray-blue and his eyes turned gray-white, just like a zombie. Worry was a little different from zombies. The man knelt on the ground devoutly, put his hands together, and silently said to the sky, "My Buddha, VD will become your faithful believer. Watching this scene, Jia and Jundi smiled at each other. Humanity is as fragile as it was 10,000 years ago. Except for the six saints. In the west, angels broke out of the ground. There is also God holding a cross. Zeus, the king of gods, holding thunder and lightning. Poseidon, the king of the sea, riding an unknown sea beast. East, Amaterasu, Izanami, Yamada no Orochi, and other gods all emerged from the ground. It indicates that the world is about to usher in chaos. At this time, the city of Dawn, Jiang Cheng, had just arrived. He saw that the sky was covered with dark clouds, and the sun's rays seemed to be blocked. The sky suddenly darkened, like a dark night at 11 or 12 o'clock. If it were an ordinary person, at this time, he could only turn on the lights or follow the moonlight to barely see the front clearly. But because of the cover of the dark clouds, even the moonlight was blocked tightly. On the street. What happened? Why is the sky dark? A new citizen of the city of Dawn who was shopping suddenly lost his voice. There was also a little boy licking a lollipop by the roadside stall, holding his mother's hand. His twinkling eyes looked up at the sky with a hint of fear and said, "Mom, it's getting dark." The woman looked up at the sky, her expression solemn, and she said to herself, "The celestial phenomena are really abnormal." As she said that, she quickly said to the man next to her, "Husband, take the child back first. I'm going to find Captain Shun and report the situation." "Go, but be careful," the man said with concern. The woman nodded and said, "I know, and you too." In addition to these people, Jiang Cheng also slowly raised his head and looked up at the sky. Unlike others, as a 10th level strong man on the surface, he can feel more things. His nose moved, and Jiang Cheng's face showed disgust, as if the air was filled with the stench of zombies. I didn't expect that Amir Nuwa would actually lead these guys out. At this point, Jiang Cheng's eyes flashed with murderous intent. "This is good, so I don't have to look for you everywhere. My order is that starting from today, all new residents of the City of Dawn are not allowed to enter or leave the City of Dawn without the permission of the Dawn Guard Corps. All hunting teams, stop all hunting activities. The City of Dawn will enter a citywide alert state starting today." Jiang Cheng turned to the headset, contacted Zhang Ya, and issued an order. "Year, let all sub-base owners and captains of the Dawn City District Corps and above go to the base conference room for a meeting." "Clear," Zhang Ya replied without asking any more questions. After doing this, Jiang Cheng glanced at the darkening sky, turned around, and flew towards the base. At the same time, Ishida Base. In front of the base square. "Tianlin, remember, when you release your powers, you must concentrate your mental power, so that your success rate of releasing your powers will be higher." "Okay, now release it as I said." Yi Tianxin stared at Yi Tianlin with a smile. Stared by Yi Tianxin's eyes, Yi Tianlin shivered inexplicably, lowered his head, and said calmly, "I know, brother." After speaking, he muttered silently, "Concentrate, concentrate." Moment. He only felt a warm current pouring into his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, his pupils turned into the pattern of a six-pointed star. Space distortion. A loud shout. The space where Yi Tianxin stood began to tremble, and then slowly rotated in a vortex at an astonishing angle. I succeeded. Seeing the space being distorted, Yi Tianlin was immediately excited. Unlike other people's powers, he is now a second-level awakener, but his powers are sometimes working and not working, which makes him a little anxious. But just when he was excited, the sky suddenly darkened. He staggered in fright. His control over the space was instantly disconnected, and the originally distorted space returned to its original state. "The sky, why is it dark?" Yi Tianlin lost his voice. Yi Tianxin flashed to Yi Tianlin, pressed his shoulders and comforted him. "Calm down." As he spoke, he raised his eyes and looked at the sky with his brows slightly furrowed. An uneasy feeling suddenly surged up. That's when Zhang Ya's voice sounded in the headset. "Attention all base owners. The leader has ordered you to stop everything you are doing and go to the Dawn Base conference room for a meeting immediately. Be sure to arrive within half an hour." Listening to the voice, Yi Tianxin said quickly, "Yes, Mr. Zhang." Then he said to the commander of Ishidatsu Base on the side, "Lu He, I will leave Tianlin to you. I want to go to the City of Dawn." Boss, what happened? Is it related to the sudden darkening of the sky? Lu He asked. Yi Tianxin shook his head and said, It's not clear yet. We can only find out more when we go to the City of Dawn. Saying that, Yi Tianxin looked at Lu He and said, By the way, Lao He, send me an order to have all the hunting teams out of Ishida base return to the base, to control the survivors who are out of the base, and to control the survivors who want to enter Ishidatsu base. Those who are quarantined. Boss, what are you doing? Lu He asked in surprise. I have an ominous premonition, Yi Tianxin said, then lowered his head and rubbed Yi Tianlin's head and said, Tianlin, before my brother comes back, you just stay in the base and stay well. Do you hear me? Yi Tianlin was a little scared and said, Brother, when will you come back? I'm a little scared. Yi Tianxin smiled and said, Bad boy, it's not like your brother won't come back. Don't worry, I guess he'll be back in about 3 or 4 hours, just like before. After saying that, he looked at Lu He again and said, Okay, Lao He, Tianlin will be left to you. After that, leave directly. Only Lu He and Yi Tianlin were left silently watching him leave. Except for Ishida base. Huangshan base. The moment Wang Chang received the order, he immediately arranged his affairs and headed for the portal. At the same time, Li Feng, Wang Jindong, and other base owners of the sub-bases all rushed towards the City of Dawn. It took half an hour to prepare, but in less than a quarter of an hour, the conference room of Shuguang base was filled with people. Jiang Cheng took the main seat early. Looking at the people talking quietly below, Jiang cleared his throat and said, Quiet. The next moment, the entire conference room was suddenly silent. Jiang Cheng then said, You may be curious as to why I called everyone here urgently? Everyone looked puzzled. Jiang Cheng looked at the wall next to him and said, Shuguang, broadcast the real-time footage from the satellite to everyone. Yes, Master. Don responded. A projection unfolded on the wall of the conference room. The projection is divided into 5 screens. The first picture shows a young man wearing white clothes. The second picture shows a young man wearing black clothes. The third picture is of a young man wearing black and white clothes. The fourth picture shows 2 old men wearing shabby cassocks and looking as skinny as wood. In the fifth and last picture, the zombies and spiritual beasts throughout Chu province began to become restless and gathered on a large scale. Chief, who are these people? Li Feng was the first to ask the curious question of all the sub-base owners. Jiang Cheng nodded and said, That's a good question. These people are the culprits that caused today's changes. They have a famous identity, saints. Saint? Is he a saint from mythology? Wang Chang lost his voice. Jiang Cheng nodded and said, Exactly. Wang Jindong frowned and said, Why do these saints appear? How strong are they? Before Jiang Cheng could say anything, Father Yang, who was standing next to him, replied, Maybe it has something to do with the mission we took on 3 days ago. He looked at Jiang Cheng inquiringly. It wasn't until Jiang Cheng agreed that Father Yang began to explain. 3 days ago, the Imperial City sent a request, hoping that we could help find their missing dragon-tooth warrior. According to the clues, I, Xiao Luo, and Xiao Lin found Dongzhou City and encountered the Saint Nuhua in Dongzhou City. After 3 days of hard fighting, and with the help of the leader, we finally defeated Nuhua until today. On the same day that Nuhua died, our surveillance satellite discovered these saints, so I guess that it may be Nuhua's death that directly led to these gods. Hearing this, another sub-base leader asked, A character who can make Dad find it difficult. How strong is this Nuhua? Father Yang said, At the planet level. Hiss. Listening to these 3 words, all the sub-base owners present took a breath. What is the concept of planetary level? They didn't know it before, but since Jiang Cheng popularized science, they have a clear understanding of this planetary level. It is an existence beyond their 3 major levels. The sub-base masters here are all at the 8th level at the latest, and the strongest ones are Luo Fan and Lin Yi, who have reached the 9th level. If they explode with all their strength, they can explode with the power of the 10th level peak, and even touch the threshold below the planet level. But they can only touch it. In other words, once they encounter a planet-level powerhouse, they will definitely die. Seeing the heavy expressions on everyone's faces, Father Yang added the information again at the right time. Not only that, The appearance of these saints also brought a large number of zombies to gather and move towards Chu province. So we have reason to guess that they are most likely targeting we're here. The words were like an atomic bomb. Flowers exploded in everyone's hearts. Dad, just tell us what we should do. Yes, leader, give the order. The base owners in the conference room shouted one after another. Any saint here is enough to make their sub-base disappear. In the current situation, it depends on how Jiang Cheng responds. Of course, these anxious people do not include Yang Laodi, Luo Fan, and Lin Yi. As for Zhang Ye and the other girls, they naturally trust Jiang Cheng very much, so their faces are normal. Jiang Cheng pressed his hand. All the base owners immediately quieted down. Jiang Cheng said, I have a response strategy for the Five Saints attack on Chu province this time. Everyone just needs to do their best to implement it, and this crisis can be safely passed. Now I will tell you the next order. As soon as this sentence came out, everyone held their breath. Jiang Cheng looked at it, nodded secretly, and said, First of all, it's about the sub-base. First of all, from today on, all outdoor activities are prohibited, and all outsiders are prohibited from entering the city. Hearing this, Yi Tianxi nodded. Jiang Cheng's words coincided with what he had told Lu He before. Second, open the sub-base portal. If anything happens to the sub-base, arrange for the survivors to take refuge in the City of Dawn. Third, from today onwards, each sub-base will add 2,000 level 8 Doomsday Warriors, 1,000 level 9 Doomsday Warriors, and 2 level 10 Doomsday Warriors. You can get the rest of the equipment needed for the battle from Zhang Ye as needed. The above 3 points are the first elements of sub-base defense. Do you understand? As Jiang Cheng's voice was raised, all the base owners stood up and shouted, Understood. Good, Jiang Cheng shouted, and then continued. The second thing I want to say is about the backup plan after the sub-base is destroyed. Once the sub-base is destroyed, you, as the base owners, must go to the City of Dawn for refuge as soon as possible to retain the manpower of my City of Dawn. Do you understand? Yes, leader. After speaking, Jiang Cheng waved his hand and said, Okay, the sub-base owners can leave and prepare, and the people of the City of Dawn will stay. Soon, all the sub-base owners left. Only Father Yang and other people from Dawn City were left in the meeting room. Jiang Cheng looked at Father Yang and said, Old man, you are in charge of the defense of Dawn City. I will transfer another 40 level 10 Doomsday Warriors to you. In a word, if Dawn City is lost, I will find you. Father Yang said seriously, Don't worry, little boy. With me in Dawn City, there will be no problems. Okay. Jiang Cheng nodded and looked at Zhang Ye and said, By then, Dawn City will be completely closed, and the city's external resources will definitely be completely cut off. In a short period of time, you need to stabilize the residents in the city and maintain the internal affairs of Dawn City. Although Dawn is facing a disaster this time, internal affairs cannot be lost. Do you understand? Yes, husband. Zhang Ye nodded. Jiang Cheng looked at Lin Ro and said, Rower, you help your maintain public order in the city. Don't worry, husband. With me here, there will be no trouble. Lin Ro patted her chest and promised. Jiang Cheng nodded and said to Lu Xinru, Xinru, medical care is the top priority. I know, husband. Lu Xinru nodded seriously. Finally, it was Li Qingwan. Jiang Cheng thought for a while and said, Qingwan, you take Miao Pass to be responsible for Xiaoan and the others' safety. Hubby, I will protect the little guys. Li Qingwan nodded. Okay, now everyone has their own duties and go to work. Jiang Cheng dismissed everyone. Soon Jiang Cheng was the only one left in the conference room. Leaning on the chair, Jiang Cheng said lightly, Su, are the 5 saints who appeared this time from Zhuobinxing? As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared out of thin air beside Jiang Cheng. You can say it is, or you can say it is not. Su stretched his waist and said lazily, What do you mean? Jiang Cheng asked with a frown. Su said calmly, They have half the cells of a normal Zhuobin person, so they can be considered half Zhuobin people, but they are still blue star creatures in essence, and their potential stops there. In other words, they are at most at the planetary level? Yes. Jiang Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and said, That's good, but they are just a few planetary guys, I don't care about them. Su nodded and said, Although these planetary guys cannot pose a threat to the servant, The servant team cannot take this matter lightly, because there are at least 3 more Zwabin people on Blue Star. Speaking of this, Su paused and continued. Since birth, the people of Zwabin have the strength of a 5th-level awakener. As they grow older, until they reach adulthood, they have the strength of a 10th-level awakener. And the Zwabin people sent to other planets to perform missions are at least at the peak of the planetary level, and the 5 Saints' joint deployment this time may not be without the shadow of Zwabin. In addition, half of the 3-year period has passed, and the servant needs to strengthen his training and strive to have the strength to deal with the arrival of the Zwabin fleet. I understand. Jiang Cheng's face became serious and nodded. What Su said was indeed correct. He is only a 10th-level awakener now, and he needs to work harder to practice. The border area of Chu province. The upper atmosphere. 5 streams of light flew towards them, and then stopped abruptly when they were about to collide, revealing 5 tall figures. Saints, for 1,000 years have passed, and I never thought that we could still be together. It's really the blessing of the ancestors. An old man with a miserable face said with his hands clasped together, but the posture of his legs was particularly strange. The sole of his right foot was touching the edge of the knee of his left leg, and his left foot was hanging upright. I haven't seen you for many years. I miss you all very much. Another old man had his legs crossed together, holding an orchid with one hand, and covering the Tianling with the other hand. His eyes seemed a little red. Listening to the words of the 2 old men, a young man in black laughed, and said, "You 2 old bald donkeys still love to pretend so much. It's interesting. It's really interesting." After finishing speaking, the young man in white straightened his face and lectured. "Tong Tian, how can you be so uneducated when talking to 2 saints?" Tong Tian listened and said with a sneer on his face, "Yuan, are you pretending to be your mother? During the conferred God War, I set up the immortal killing formation. If you hadn't stabbed me in the back, how could you have allowed that human race to succeed and seal us away?" Yuan saw Tong Tian poking at him so mercilessly, and for a moment his whole body surged with energy, just when he was about to attack. A silent young man wearing black and white clothes beside him said, "Okay, Tong Tian, give me a face. Put this matter aside for the time being, until we find the human race who killed Nu Hua, then resolve it and invite each other to fight alone. How about it? Yes, if we kill each other before we find the human race, aren't we just following the wishes of those races?" Jie and Junti also advised. Tong Tian and Yuan Yu hesitated for a while, looked at each other fiercely, and then said in unison, "The Supreme Saint is right." "Very good," the Supreme Saint said calmly, and then said, "What are your plans for this human race?" When Tong Tian heard this, he immediately said excitedly, "As I say, just go over and kill him to avoid a long night and many dreams." "Kill?" Yuan sneered and said mockingly, "This human race can kill Nu Hua, but can it be killed by you so easily? Don't think about things too simply, lest you shoot yourself in the foot." Tong Tian angrily said, "Then what good solution do you have? I am all ears." Yuan's face turned red, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Although I don't have any good ideas now, I also know that knowing yourself and the enemy will win every battle. The most important thing for us is to understand each other and then defeat them in one fell swoop." "What do you mean by knowing yourself and the enemy?" "I think you are just cowardly and deliberately trying to dodge." "That's fine. If you don't want to go, then I will go. I want to see what this human race is capable of." Tong Tian scolded. Yuan said angrily, Okay. If you have the ability, go ahead. If you can kill this human race by yourself, I will obey you. Why don't you dare? I'll kill this human right now." After Tong Tian finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to fly out, but was stopped by the Supreme Being. "Okay, 2 saints." The Supreme Master spoke slowly. "What Yuan said is right, and what Saint Tong Tian said is also right. First, we still don't understand the strength of this human race, so we need a saint to find out the reality. Secondly, based on the strength of this human race, we will think of countermeasures. If the saint we introduced kills him, that's it. If it fails, we need to make new plans and investigate the background of this human race. What do you 2 think?" Yuan shook his head and said, "What the Supreme Saint said makes sense. I wonder which saint should be sent there." As soon as these words came out, Saint Juenti immediately shook his head and said, I have just broken the seal, and my strength is currently at a half-walking star level. It will take some time to cultivate, so I ask for your forgiveness, saints. Jane also said quickly, I am about the same as Saint Juenti. This seal has consumed most of my strength. I am not as good as Saint Juenti. I am afraid it will take more than half a year to recover this time. Having said this, Jane glanced at Tantian and said, Didn't Saint Tantian want to go and kill this human just now? I think it's better to let Saint Tantian go. Even if he fails, just run away. How about it? When Yuan Yu heard this, his eyes immediately lit up, and he said, I think this is a good idea. I agree. Tantian said angrily, Why do you want me to be this touchstone? If you want to go up, it must be the original child. What? I'll do it. Didn't you just say you did? FCKU, when did I say that? Then you swear to the ancestral gods. You. Seeing that the two were about to quarrel, a shout interrupted them. Okay, let's vote by a show of hands. After the Supreme Master finished speaking, he glanced at the saints. Juenti and Jiayin immediately nodded and said, Good. Yuan also nodded and said, Good. Although Tantian was a little unconvinced, this method was undoubtedly the fairest. He nodded immediately and said, I agree. Okay, since everyone agrees, let's start the vote with a show of hands. The Supreme Being nodded and then said, First of all, the original saint, raise your hands if you agree. Tantian immediately raised his hand. After Juenti and Jane looked at each other, they bowed their heads and remained silent in a tacit understanding. The Supreme Being looked at the little thoughts of the saints and announced, The original saint has one vote. Next is Saint Tantian, who raises his hand in agreement. Swish, swish, swish. Juenti, Jane, and Yuan all raised their hands. Even the Supreme Saint raised his hand at this moment. At this moment, Tantian still couldn't understand anything, and he laughed angrily. Okay. You guys are plotting against me, right? No problem. Go ahead. But I have a condition before you go up. If you don't agree, I will just sit back and watch. The Supreme Being hesitated for a while and said, Sage Tantian, please speak. I can take action this time, but you need to give me 5 10th-level crystal stones each, otherwise there is no need to discuss this matter. Tantian said, Impossible. Yuan Yu refused immediately. 10th-level crystal stone, or 5. Unless he's crazy. You must know that the most you can use to restore your strength is 3 10th-level crystals. Now that the opponent wants 5 at a time, his intentions are clearly revealed. Juenti was also ready to refuse, but the moment he opened his mouth, the Supreme Saint said, I agree. As he spoke, he tossed his cuffs, and 5 crystal stones flew out from the black cuffs, floating in front of the Tantian Saint. Readily, Tantian accepted the crystal and looked at the other saints, especially Yuan. Tantian stretched out his palm and hooked his fingers. You don't even think about it. Yuan almost gritted his teeth and squeezed out. Tantian sneered and said, Okay, if some people don't want to produce crystal stones, then that's great. If any saint is willing to test it, then these crystal stones will belong to him. How about that? As soon as these words came out, both Juenti and Jane have some connotations. Just for testing, they can have 20 level 10 crystal stones. Excluding the 3 used to restore their strength, they can still have 14 crystals left, which can create 14 level 10 powerful men for their use. This deal is really a bargain. There is also some original movement, but he is timid and suspicious by nature. There are many doubts about Nuwa's death. It may be that the other human race killed her with a trick, or it may be that the other party killed her one-on-one. No matter which one it is, he doesn't want to face it. After thinking about it, he simply took out 5 10th-level crystals and threw them over, saying, Here you go. This is also the safest way. It means spending 5 crystals and letting others explore the way first. For his own safety, he went out. That's about right. Tantian took the crystal with satisfaction, and finally looked at Juenti and Jane and said, What about you two? What do you say? If you are willing to go, then these crystals in my hand will belong to you. How about it? Speaking of this, Tantian raised his voice and deliberately reminded, Of course, you still need to think clearly. The other party is an existence that can kill Nuwa. Think about it in your heart. Compared with Nuwa, How strong are you? Are you the opponent of the other party? Can you evacuate safely after failure? Tong Tian said this deliberately. He knew that these two Western saints were most afraid of death. Since the ancestor god spread the holy blood and created the saint, he has been overcoming all the difficulties and struggled from a small zombie to become one of the 6 strongest saints under the ancestor god. And these two Western guys always run away the fastest when they are in danger, and they like to do something behind their backs, which is why they have the sainthood today. So he was sure that these two guys would not dare to go. Sure enough, Zhuanti and Jane looked at each other and smiled at Tong Tian. This time, the test is still the most suitable for Tong Tian's saint. The two of us are not strong enough, and going there will only add to the joke. Then I won't be polite. Tong Tian grabbed the 10 10th level crystals that the other party ran over, and then his figure flashed and turned into a black stream of light and left. Go. The 4 of them watched the black light go away. It was not until the black light disappeared into the sky that Yuanshi came back to his senses and asked Taishang impatiently, Taishang Saint, what should we do next? Taishang paused and said, Tong Tian's saint has already gone. We need to prepare for the war. So, what we need most now is to gather a large number of combat forces and capture the human camp to welcome the arrival of the ancestor god. I can feel that the ancestor god will come soon. Taishang's saint is right. Then we, the 2 saints in the west, will go to the Buddha kingdom first and summon our old subordinates. Zuni said. Taishang nodded and said, very good. After the 2 saints gather their combat forces, we will use the Buddha capital in the western province as our base and gather here. Great good. Zunti and Jane bowed and turned into 2 golden streams of light and left. Yuanshi saw this and immediately said, then I will go and wake up my disciples of the Chan sect. After speaking, he turned into a white light and disappeared. The Supreme looked at the 3 saints who disappeared, then looked at the direction where Tong Tian disappeared, and said lightly, 1 breath turns into 3 pure ones. Instantly, his body split apart and turned into 3 entities. I, the Supreme, greet you all. I, the Supreme, greet you all. I, the Supreme, greet you all. The 3 figures transformed by the Supreme bowed to each other. The Supreme Evil said, I wonder how the Supreme Self will arrange the coming of the ancestral god this time. The Supreme Good said, the coming of the ancestral god cannot be taken lightly. If we see the rise of the human race, we saints will be in big trouble. The Supreme Self shook his head and said, you don't need to worry for now. What we need to pay most attention to now is the movements of these 4 saints, so I can only trouble you 2 to go and investigate. The Supreme Evil said, then I will go to the west. The Supreme Good said, I will monitor the original. The Supreme Self, then I will monitor Tong Tian. Apart from that, if you encounter any trouble, just recall your original body. After the words fell, the Supreme Good, the Supreme E, and the Supreme Self said in unison, good. Then they turned into 3 black and white afterimages and disappeared on the spot. The 2 saints in the west. Zuni, do we really have to do what the Supreme ordered? Jia said with some dissatisfaction. Zhuanti shook his head and smiled bitterly. Now that one of the 6 saints is missing, the power of the human race cannot be underestimated. It is best for us to use it to solve this threat. It will not be too late to plan carefully at that time. That's right, I am obsessed. Yuanshi sighed. Damn it, Tong Tian, Taishang, Jane, Zhuanti, you all deserve to die. Yuanshi cursed in a low voice while thinking in his heart. Now that Nuwa is dead, the situation is unclear, and the ancestor god is about to come. To be honest, if it is possible, he really doesn't want to cooperate with other saints. Forget it, cooperate for the time being. After welcoming the ancestor god, I will slowly find trouble with you guys. Tongtian sighed. Haha, you all want me to die? You really hit my face with the abacus. Do you really think that I, Tongtian, am a fool and don't understand your intentions? Tongtian sneered and glanced at the ground. He randomly found a cave and went in directly. Anyway, they didn't say when to make a move, so it wouldn't be too late to make a move after he absorbed all the 10th level crystals. At the same time, Dawn City. After arranging the Dawn City, Jiang Cheng pressed the headset to connect several cooperating provincial capital survivor bases. This is the Dawn City. Please answer if you hear me. In a few seconds, dozens of voices rang out in the headset. This is the Kangwoo Survivor Base. I am Miao Weigua, the Commander-in-Chief of the Kangwoo Base. I am Xu Daoshan, the Commander-in-Chief of the Chuandu Survivor Base. I am Zhang Pingwo, the Commander-in-Chief of the Jinling Survivor Base. The voices of dozens of provincial capital commanders came one after another. Finally, I am Wang Jiangwo, the Commander-in-Chief of the Imperial City and the Commander-in-Chief of the Dragonfang Legion. Brother Jiang, what do you want to talk to us about? As Wang Jiangwo spoke, Jiang Cheng said, Brothers, there is indeed something important to say, which concerns the future of our great Zhou. Please speak, Brother Jiang. As long as the cooperation of the Imperial City is needed, I, Wang Jiangwo, will definitely do my best. I, Kangwoo, will also help. I, Chuan, will shed my last drop of blood. With the guarantee of dozens of general commanders, Jiang Cheng said, I wonder if the sky has darkened in your area? Brother Jiang, is it the same in your area? Wang Jiangwo asked in surprise. It is true that the sky suddenly darkened in Kangwoo. Miao Weigua said, I was wondering why the sky darkened, said Zhang Pingwo, the general commander of Jinling. Jiang Cheng explained, this major event is related to this sky phenomenon. Before, I remember telling everyone about the revival of the gods. Brother Jiang, do you mean that this incident is related to the gods? Wang Jiangwo asked. Jiang Cheng affirmed, yes. And it was the 5 saints who broke through the seal that caused the sky to turn black. I need to explain to everyone that these 5 saints are Tongtian, Yuanshi, Jane, Zhuanti, and Taishang. Their strength has reached the planetary level at least. As soon as the words came out, the commanders of all the bases were speechless. What? Planetary level? How to fight? Yes. The strongest person in our base is only a 5th level awakener, and it was only with the support of Brother Jiang that we got him. What should we do now? Brother Jiang, you have to think of a solution for us. Listening to the chief commander's request for help in the headset, Jiang Cheng said, Please rest assured, I have a perfect response plan, and I just need your cooperation. Brother Jiang, please tell me. I will cooperate unconditionally in the Imperial City. Wang Jiangwo was the first to express his position. The other chief commanders also responded one after another. As long as you can save Jinling, I will be fired as the chief commander. I will do the same for Kangwoo. Jiang Cheng listened and smiled. In fact, it's not that serious. You just need to transfer your survivors to the City of Dawn within 3 days. I will arrange a rest area for you at that time. I just don't know if you can agree. After these words came out, dozens of chief commanders fell silent again. Although Jiang Cheng's proposal was good and the plan was easy to implement, there was a huge risk in it. The risk is not that the city will be massacred by the saints, but once the survivors enter the City of Dawn, when the war is over, if you want them to come back, it depends on Jiang Cheng's opinion. And every survivor is the living force of a base, which can bring population to the base and is an important resource for the future development of the base. If Jiang Cheng does not agree, then their base will really be like being cut off from the bottom of the pot. Seeing that the commanders in the headsets did not speak, Jiang Cheng laughed at himself. He had just thought of this. So he said, Everyone, in addition to this plan, I have another way, which is to send soldiers to reinforce the defense. This is a compromise method, and this method also depends on whether the saints attack the city. Everyone, choose it. Silence, another silence. Just when everyone was hesitating, a firm voice sounded. My imperial city is willing to go to the City of Dawn for refuge. Wang Jiangwo's voice was like an atomic bomb, exploding in everyone's hearts. There is only one idea in everyone's mind. Handing over your wealth to others? He is crazy. Then I will wait patiently for Brother Wang and the brothers from the imperial city. Jiang Cheng smiled. This phenomenon reminded him of what his friend once said to him. Some people are on the edge of the cliff. As a friend, you can pull them up. If you can't pull them up, then don't pull them up. Respect your personal destiny. He felt that this sentence was very appropriate now. The only pity is the survivors in the survivor base. At least they are innocent, but unfortunately, they have no right to choose. Just as Jiang Cheng finished his words, Miao Weigua from Kangwoo Base also said, We at Kangwoo Base are also willing to take refuge in the City of Dawn, and I, Kangwu, hoped to officially join the City of Dawn. As soon as these words came out, it could be said that one stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Even Jiang Cheng was a little surprised. He didn't expect Kangwa's commander-in-chief to be so bold. However, Kangwa's commander-in-chief's surname is Miao, which is the same as Miao Feng. Is there any relationship between the two? He remembered that it was Miao Feng who introduced him to Tsang Wu for the first time. So there is a high possibility that the two are related. While Jiang Cheng was gossiping, the commanders-in-chief of dozens more bases expressed their attitude. The rest said they would look at it again. Thanks to everyone for trusting Jiang. Without further ado, I will arrange personnel to assist everyone in the transfer today. After Jiang Cheng finished speaking, he hung up the call. This call can be regarded as solving the safety problems of most survivors, and he can feel at ease a little bit. As for survivors in other countries, sorry, not under consideration. If we really want to consider it, we just want to destroy it completely at some point to avoid causing trouble. The next few days, the City of Dawn has successively accepted survivors from other bases. Compared with before the end, Lincian City alone had a population of more than 1 million. Now the City of Dawn has an area of 4 urban districts and can accommodate hundreds of people. A population of 10,000 is a small matter, not to mention that the total number of people in dozens of survivor bases is only over 1 million. In order to increase his income from energy points, Jiang Cheng went to the Pacific Ocean again. He killed hundreds of 10th-level spirit beasts in a few days, added more than 300 source points, and exchanged 10 Doomsday Warriors for defense. Strength. Everything is ready in the City of Dawn. A week later, in a cave at the junction of Chu Province and Chang'an Province, suddenly a loud laugh rang out. Ha ha ha! I, Tong Tian, have finally regained my strength. On a smooth stone in a cave full of stone walls, a young man in black was laughing crazily, with thick black gas coming out of his body, and the 4 long swords floating and rotating around him were even more. It emits bursts of buzzing, seeming to be celebrating its master's breakthrough. Just laugh, Tong Tian said to himself. Now I have successfully broken through to the planetary level with the help of the energy of 20 10th order crystal stones. Now, I am respected among the 6 saints. No one in the entire blue star can compete with me. I will become the only king. After saying that, Tong Tian stood up, stretched out his palm, and the suspended sword immediately flew into his palm. As for the little human race, let me kill you today. As soon as he finished speaking, the sky turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the cave. At the same time, City of Dawn. Bad boy, could it be that your perception is wrong? It's been a week and no god has come yet. Can we relax a little? Yang said, sighing and saying, it's been a week since I came in. The survivors who took refuge were very critical of us. Oh, who are they referring to? Jiang Cheng asked with a raised brow. Father Yang lowered his voice and said, it's those people in Shenzhou City who are shouting that our things are unclean, saying that we are fooling them, and want to return to their Shenzhou City. Speaking of this, Father Yang mocked again, but that group of people has always been like this. Before the end of the world, they looked down on outsiders and thought highly of themselves. Now when they come to our Chu province, they won't gossip unless the sun comes out from the west. Jiang Cheng listened and sneered. Say, just send the disobedient ones back and let them live and die. It's just right to let these evil seeds be completely extinct in this land, so as not to pass them on to future generations. Wouldn't it be a good idea to do this? After all, we are all from Zhou dynasty. Father Yang asked tentatively. Jiang Cheng said coldly, when you come to Shuguang, you must follow our rules. I don't care where he is from. Okay, I understand. Father Yang nodded and turned around to press the headset notification. Suddenly, Jiang Cheng's voice tightened. Here we come. What's coming? Father Yang was still a little confused. The next second, a voice came from the sky. I am one of the 6 saints who reached the sky. You humans, who disrespected the destiny of heaven and dared to kill the goddess Nuwa, deserve to be punished. However, God has the virtue of good life. You only need to hand over the mortals who killed Nuwa, and I will spare it. Wait. Listening to this voice, Father Yang quickly raised his head and looked toward the sky. I saw a long-haired man wearing a black robe and 4 black swords floating around his body, hanging above the clouds. It was at this moment that the guards guarding the gates of the 4 major urban areas quickly sent a report. Captain, there are a large number of zombies attacking at the East City Gate. Do you want to attack? Captain, a large number of spirit beasts are attacking the West Gate. Captain, a large number of spirit beasts are also coming to the North Gate. Captain, a large number of guys who look like gods are approaching the South Gate. Old Man Yang listened, looked up at the sky, and said in a deep voice, "Observe the situation first, and obey my orders." "Yes, Captain." At this time, above the sky, Tong Tian's voice sounded again. "Humans, if you don't reply, I will regard it as you rejecting my proposal, and I will not be polite." After speaking, Jiang Cheng patted Old Man Yang's shoulder and said, "Old man, you preside over the battle here, and let me deal with these dirty saints. Be careful." After saying this, Father Yang turned around and headed straight for the city gate. Jiang Cheng, on the other hand, jumped up immediately with a tap of his toes. In the blink of an eye, he flew high into the sky and stood opposite Tong Tian. Looking at the human race that suddenly appeared, Tong Tian was surprised at first, then pointed at Jiang Cheng and sneered. "Are you the human race that killed Manhwa?" "Yes." Jiang Cheng nodded. Tong Tian said coldly, "Do you know that you have committed a heinous crime that is unforgivable?" "I don't know." Jiang Cheng shook his head and said, "Manhwa is cannibalistic. If she is not killed, our human race will be devastated and blood will flow like a river. So Manhwa should be killed and die." "What a big tone. Then I, Tong Tian, will have to learn a lesson from you today." As he said this, he turned his palm. A black long sword appeared in his palm. Slowly raised the long sword, and a black light was drawn. A loud shout, "Zhu Xian!" The black light came very quickly. Even the space was slightly distorted by the black light of the knife, and flew directly over silently. "Oh!" Jiang Cheng sneered, turned his palm, and the First Order Tang Dao appeared directly in his palm. He raised the Tang Dao and made a horizontal movement. Bang! The black sword light struck the First Order Tang Dao. Suddenly a wave of air exploded. However, Jiang Cheng remained motionless, standing on the spot, staring at the sky, slowly raising his left hand and making a hook. "How brave!" Tong Tian shouted loudly, waved his right hand, and another long black sword with the word "kill" flew out, condensed the word "kill" in the void, and flew towards Jiang Cheng. Jiang Cheng saw this and slashed directly with the First Order Tang Dao. The word "kill" was instantly split in half and disintegrated in the sky. Seeing this scene, Tong Tian's pupils shrank, his face became a little more solemn, and he sneered. "What a human boy, but you have some strength. You can't even kill the immortal sword. No wonder you can kill Manhwa. Is this the immortal killing sword?" Jiang Cheng smiled and said, "I used to read biographical novels, and those novels praised your 4 immortal swords as being so powerful and indestructible as the 4 saints. But now it seems that biographies are just biographies. The immortal slaying sword, but that's it. If you have any powerful moves, just show them off. Otherwise you won't have a chance once I take action. Don't talk nonsense here. Since you want to see the immortal killing sword formation, then I will grant your wish." Jiang Cheng's words made Tong Tian's already gray-blue face look even bluer. This was the first time since he became a saint that he had been so humiliated by humans. As for the previous time, it was in front of ancestral god Hongjun. Thinking of this, Tong Tian made a seal in his hand and shouted loudly, "The immortal killing sword, the immortal killing sword, the immortal absolute sword, the immortal trapping sword, the order." Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, 4 black streams of light flew out from his side and pierced around Jiang Cheng in 4 directions, southeast, northwest, and Jiang Cheng felt strange. "The immortal killing sword formation, rise." Tong Tian shouted again. Immediately, with the 4 swords of Zhu Xian as points, 4 sword lights shot out. For a moment, a giant gray cover formed in the sky, covering Jiang Cheng inside. Seeing Jiang Cheng being trapped by the Zhu Xian sword formation, Tong Tian laughed loudly, then slowly flew into the shield, staring at Jiang Cheng, who was still looking indifferent, and said, "Human race, you have been trapped by the Zhu Xian sword formation. If you want to keep a whole body, then arrest him immediately, otherwise I won't even be able to keep you alive." "Really?" Then I want to see why I can't keep the minced meat star. Jiang Cheng smiled. If you keep talking harshly even when you are about to die, you will not be able to cry for a while. Tong Tian looked at Jiang Cheng as if he were looking at a dead person, and then raised one hand. Zhu Xian's sword formation, Ning. In an instant, countless sword energy condensed inside the originally gray cover, like the thorns on a hedgehog, pointing densely at Jiang Cheng. Kill. As Tong Tian fell, countless sword energy shot towards Jiang Cheng. My sword energy is endless. Just wait to be pierced into a hedgehog. Seeing this, Jiang Cheng's face remained unchanged, and he just said for words lightly, Ora Dharmakaya. In a blink of an eye, Jiang Cheng's body began to expand until it reached more than 20 meters, and then it stopped. And a golden light film condenses on the surface of the body, like a layer of golden armor. The next second, the sword energy rushed towards him. Clang, clank, clank. The shot hit Jiang Cheng's protective shield, making bursts of metallic collision sounds. Looking at Jiang Cheng's body, there are no cracks in the golden shield except for small circles of ripples. He continued to come like this for 10 minutes without any blind spots. There was no way to break through Jiang Cheng's defense, and Jiang Cheng even yawned out of boredom. Jiang Cheng clapped his mouth and said speechlessly, The Immortals laying sword formation? That's it. It really disappoints me. Good boy, don't be arrogant. Seeing that the Zhuxian sword formation could not break through Jiang Cheng's defense, Tong Tian shouted again, Zhuxian divine sword, condense. The words fell. Within the sword formation, countless small sword energies all gathered together, gradually forming a black long sword with the word Zhuxian written on it. Cut. Tong Tian made a secret in his hand and pointed it out. In an instant, a golden light flew out from his index finger and hit the sword formation. Then, the Zhuxian sword chi was activated, turning into a black stream of light and piercing Jiang Cheng's chest. Well done. Seeing the approaching sword energy, Jiang Cheng finally gained some energy. Just when the sword energy was less than 100 meters away from him, Jiang Cheng punched out. 6th level Heavenly Demon Fist. Instantly, a black fist flew out from Jiang Cheng's right side and hit the black sword energy. With just one encounter, the black sword energy was shattered by the impact, and the surrounding gray light walls were also blasted to pieces. Immediately, the Zhuxian sword array collapsed, and the 4 Zhuxian swords whined, turning into 4 streams of light and falling towards the ground. What? My 4 swords of Zhuxian! Tong Tian exclaimed. He didn't expect this human race to be so fierce. You must know that during the Conferred Gods War, although he and Yuan and others made a scene and invited human beings to enter the urn, in fact, the power of the Zhuxian sword formation was indeed as legendary. It could not be broken without the 4 saints. Even the saints can also kill. In other words, its defensive power can trap planet-level experts, and its power can kill any enemy below the planet level. But he was punched by a human and collapsed. This means that the strength of this human race has reached the planet level, or even stronger. Oh my god. Tong Tian suddenly felt that the world was a little crazy. After just 4,000 years of not being born, the human race gave birth to a planet-level powerhouse. How could he survive? No wonder the other party was able to kill Nuwa. Thinking of this, Tong Tian cursed in his heart. Damn the supreme being, Yuan, and those 2 Western itches. No wonder they asked me to come here as this touchstone. After the thought fell, he no longer thought about anything else, turned around, and prepared to escape. This human race is too strong, and he doesn't want to stay here. But just turned around. A voice sounded in his ears. Sage Tong Tian, where are you going? Hearing the voice, Tong Tian trembled, and without caring about anything else, he shouted directly. The art of transforming the rainbow. The words fell. His body actually shone with colorful light, turning into a rainbow and shooting towards the distance. In just one breath, he had already run 100 kilometers away. While flying, his chest was beating wildly, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He said to himself, It's so dangerous, it's so dangerous. Fortunately, the ancestor god taught me the secret method of transforming the rainbow, otherwise I would have died here. But the next second, a voice blocked his way. Sage Tong Tian, did I let you go? At this moment, Souls of the dead emerged from the sky. In Tongtian's ears, this voice was like a demonic sound from the depths of the universe, chilling him from his back to his forehead. Without any hesitation, Tongtian pointed with his palm and shouted, Zhu Xian. The four immortal swords around him suddenly condensed into a giant sword and flew in the direction of the sound. The immortal sword flew out. Tongtian gasped heavily. Good risk, you should be dead now. Ha ha ha. Just as he was laughing triumphantly, Jiang Cheng's voice came again. Do you think you can kill me with this broken sword? Tongtian listened. His whole body shook, his face twitched, his eyes widened, and he raised his head with difficulty. When he saw Jiang Cheng, cold sweat broke out, and he raised his finger tremblingly and pointed at Jiang Cheng and said, You actually grabbed my sword? At this time, Jiang Cheng was holding a huge sword in one hand, and his expression was playful. You were talking about this broken sword? After the words fell, Jiang Cheng's true energy flowed in his hand, and he squeezed it hard. Crack! The Zhuxian sword was directly squeezed into an iron lump from the middle. Throwing the Zhuxian sword, which had become scrap iron in his hand, aside, Jiang Cheng looked at Tongtian with disdain and said, Tell me, where are the other saints? Gulu. Tongtian swallowed hard, couldn't help but step back a few steps, raised his hand and said, I don't know. Don't know? Humph. Jiang Cheng snorted twice, looked at Tongtian and said, I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. Then go to hell. Yiju. Just as Jiang Cheng raised his hand, Tongtian hurriedly said, I'll tell you, don't kill me. As soon as these words came out, Jiang Cheng stopped moving his hands, looked at Tongtian with a mocking face. I thought he was a man. I didn't expect him to be such a coward. It's a pity that in the online novels before Rebirth, this Tongtian saint was written to be more awesome than the other. I really don't know what these authors would think when they see such a Tongtian saint. But at this moment, a shadow emerged from the side. Servant, I sense someone spying on us from a distance. Su frowned. Jiang Cheng was slightly startled. He was followed. To be honest, he didn't sense anyone around him at all. Frowning, he said, Who is it? Can you find out clearly? Wait a minute. Su said. His eyes flashed with a blue light. The light disappeared. Su said, It should be a saint, but only 1/3 of the saint's strength. I will now transmit the influence to your brain. After the words fell, Jiang Cheng suddenly saw a picture in front of him. It was a man wearing a robe, half black and half white, and even his hair and skin were black and white. He looked very strange and sneaky. Looking at it, Jiang Cheng nodded and said, Don't alert the snake first, let me solve it. Yes, master. At this time, just dozens of kilometers away, the Supreme Self, who was hiding in the clouds and secretly monitoring Tongtian, secretly said in his heart that it was not good. I didn't expect Tongtian to be so unreliable. I have to replan. After saying that, he was ready to turn around and leave. At this moment, Tongtian was about to speak. Jiang Cheng suddenly interrupted and said, Wait a minute, let me solve a mouse first. Mouse. Tongtian was stunned. He looked around. This is 10,000 meters high. Where did the mouse come from? Could it be? Just when he was guessing who it was, Jiang Cheng had disappeared. At the same time, Taishang was ready to leave. But as soon as he turned around, a man stood in front of him and said coldly, Where do you want to go? Who? Taishang was stunned and looked up. When he saw Jiang Cheng in front of him, his eyes widened and he asked in horror, How? How did you find me? His mind began to race. This shouldn't be. He was hiding so secretly and using secret methods. Logically, even a planetary-level strongman couldn't find it. What on earth is going on? Haha, stop talking nonsense. Why are you spying on me? Who are you? Jiang Cheng asked. Taishang reacted, and his expression gradually calmed down. He sneered. Who do you care who I am? If you know what's good for you, let me go and I won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, I'll make you die without knowing how you died. It seems that this is another guy who doesn't know how to live or die. Jiang Cheng sighed, and his figure flashed, and he directly pinched the other's neck, raised his head, and said with sharp eyes, I ask again, who are you? Why are you spying on me? Kill. Killing me is useless. I won't tell you unless I die. Taishang Zizi's face turned blue, and he said with difficulty, Then die. Jiang Cheng exerted force in his hands. With a click, Tai Shangzi's neck was directly broken, and even the flesh on his neck was directly pinched open. Because his body was too heavy, he fell directly from midair, leaving only his head with eyes wide open on his fist. At the moment when Tai Shang died, thousands of kilometers away in Shizhou, Tai Shang Shan, who was following the original, was shocked and said in disbelief, "Is Tai Shangzi dead? This human is so strong." Not only Tai Shang Shan, but also Tai Shang Yi, who followed the two saints from the west, was also stunned at the same time, because there was a lake in his mind, which was about what Tai Shang had seen before his death. Is this really a human race? Fortunately, the death of Tai Shang's self is not a real death. Every time Tai Shang splits into 3 clones, every time a clone dies, the power will automatically return to the main body and will not cause any harm. The only disadvantage is that because of the death of the clone, his strength will be reduced by 1/3 within 3 days. Sensing the death of Tai Shang's self, Tai Shang Yi's eyes rolled back, and he stood there like a robot and said, "Tai Shang Shan, Tai Shang's self has been destroyed. What should we do next?" Tai Shang Yi said, "I thought this human would be killed by Tong Tian. It seems that we still underestimated him." Thinking for a while, he continued, "Fortunately, this Tong Tian is a touchstone thrown by us, and we also roughly know the strength of this human. In this way, you notify the saints and say that Tong Tian is dead. If you want to deal with this human, you need to plan for the long term. Just tell these guys. Do you want to?" Tai Shang Shan said with an intention. Tai Shang Yi shook his head and said, "Although we can use this opportunity to kill all the saints, don't forget how we were born. Even if all the other saints are dead and only we are left, after the ancestor god descends, he will create 5 more saints to maintain the balance of Blue Star. Besides, the death of the saints is not a good thing. The human strength is too strong. If we don't unite with the other saints, we are definitely not the opponent." Tai Shang Shan was silent for a few seconds. "I understand. Just when the supreme good and the supreme evil act separately." Jiang Cheng sighed. The head of Tai Shang ego on the fist suddenly began to decay at an extremely fast speed. Almost 3 seconds. The head turned into a pile of smelly water and flowed down from Jiang Cheng's fist. Seeing this made Jiang Cheng feel sick. "Here comes the water." Moment. A ball of clear water condensed on Jiang Cheng's fist, wrapping up the stains. Following Jiang Cheng's thought, the water mass lifts the stain away. Jiang Cheng's palms were as smooth as new again. Frowning, Jiang Cheng's figure flashed again, and he was in front of Tong Tian again. He smiled and said, "Now that the mouse is solved, let's continue with the problem just now. Where are the other saints?" This question made everyone tremble. He had seen the scene where Jiang Cheng killed the supreme ego just now. To be honest, he didn't expect Tai Shang ego to follow him, nor did he expect Jiang Cheng to find him even dozens of kilometers away. This human being is really terrible. Until now, the way Tai Shang looked when he was killed was still imprinted in his mind. Shivering, he said, I told you that you have to promise not to kill me. It depends on your mood. If you don't say anything now, I will kill you immediately. If you say it, I might let you go. In short, everything depends on your performance." Jiang Cheng spread his hands and smiled helplessly. After hearing this, Tong Tian gritted his teeth. "Is this person the ancestral god?" Moody. He said he might be killed, but he didn't say he would definitely be killed. To stay alive. Bet. Thinking of this, Tong Tian said directly, "The 2 sages of the West in Asen Buddha City should have gone to Kunlun originally. The Supreme Saint, the one you just killed, is one of his 3 clones, so the Supreme Saint you should be following these saints. If you don't kill me, I can lead you directly to them." That's it. Jiang Cheng thought for a moment. Now that the locations of the 4 saints are known, it is not difficult to kill them. Although what Tong Tian said is very tempting, as a slave created by the Zwabin people, staying in the world is definitely a disaster. Thinking of this, Jiang Cheng's eyes fixed. He looked at Tong Tian with a smile and said, "Forget it. Let me let you go." Real. Huge surprise burst out on Tong Tian's face. He didn't expect Jiang Cheng to let him go. He thought that the other party was moody and would kill him after he said it, but he didn't expect that the other party actually let him go. The bet was right. Just when he was about to thank him, he suddenly felt a pain in his lower abdomen. and then a red crystal was grasped in a blue hand, etc. This seems to be his corpse crystal. He raised his head in disbelief and met Jiang Cheng's teasing smile. Fake. You lied to me. I'm going to kill you, punish. Tan Tian raised his hands tremblingly, wanting to resist, but he lost the corpse crystal. His statement was like a flood that opened a floodgate and drained away rapidly. He could see his palms decaying and withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just a few seconds. Tan Tian has turned into a withered skeleton. No next action has been taken yet. A gust of wind blew. He was blown away and turned into a pile of powder and disappeared between heaven and earth. Seeing the death of Tan Tian, Jiang Cheng shook his head and said, "If you are not of my race, your heart will be different. If you don't die, who will die? You want me to let you go? What are you thinking?" After saying that, he looked at the corpse crystal in his hand and said with a smile, "However, the biggest gain today is a planet-level corpse crystal. It just so happens that the source point has consumed a lot during this period, and this can bring back a mouthful of blood. Put it into the ring of the fallen god." Jiang Cheng raised his head, looked in the direction of the City of Dawn, and immediately shot away. City of Dawn, Linxian District City Gate. Kill. As Father Yang shouted loudly, a large number of City of Dawn warriors rushed out of the city like a torrent and rushed towards the crowd of zombies. Kill. Father Yang was the first to bear the brunt. Become a Buddha. The whole body suddenly flashed with golden light, turning into a 10-meter-tall Buddha, raising his fist to strike at the 9th-level Corpse Emperor in front of him. Human, seek death. The Corpse Emperor roared. His claws expanded sharply and turned into a blood shadow and rushed towards Father Yang. Since the 5th level, the types of zombies are mainly divided into 7 deadly sins. When he reaches the 7th level, he will be called the Corpse King. The 8th level is also called the Corpse King. The 9th level is the Corpse Emperor, and the 10th level is called the Immortal. In the mythical classics, there are only 4 immortals. They are the generals, Hanbao, Ingo, and Ho Qing. The Corpse Emperor in front of him was evolved from one of Tongtian's subordinates who absorbed Guanin's mount, Golden Hair Roar. Extremely powerful, he once made great achievements for Jiejiao in the Battle of the Gods. It's a pity that they were sealed together by Jiang Cheng in the 10,000 Immortals formation. Now that he has escaped, he still has to eat a few humans to vent his resentment. However, before the punch that the Corpse Emperor just punched could reach Father Yang, his eyes suddenly blurred, his head shook, and his whole body flew directly to the side. How is this possible? I was actually beaten away by a human. The Corpse Emperor was full of disbelief. For 1,000 years ago, the only ones who could fight him were King Jifa of Zhou, King Dixin of Shang, and Jiang Cheng. The first 2 overwhelmed him with their strength, and the last one was full of tricks. But even with the combined strength of these 3, they could only suppress him from the front. Unexpectedly, after 4,000 years, there would be a human race that could confront him head-on and knock him away. This was simply too outrageous. As soon as the thought fell, his head shook again, as if he was hit by a truck, and his whole body fell down again. Boom. His body smashed directly into the ground, making a big hole in the ground. Before he could make any move, he heard a light shout in his ear. One thought of Buddha can move the heavens. Not good. The Corpse Emperor subconsciously felt something was wrong and wanted to get up. But the next second, with a bang, his eyes went dark and he lost consciousness instantly. Looking at the head that was blown into a paste in front of him, and the blue crystal lying in a pile of minced meat, Father Yang waved his hand with some disdain and said, "Just relying on a 9th-level zombie, you want to break through the gate of my Dawn City? You are simply courting death." Except for Father Yang. The gate of Tianan District. Luo Fan shouted, "Hard Qigong, open. Spiritual open." 8 overlapping waves. The palm drew a mysterious ripple in the air, and the air wave formed by the 8 layers of true essence above the sky was directly hit by the 9th-level spirit beast rushing in front of him. "Roar human, I am the mount of the Saint Tongtian. Kuei Nyo, watch me trample you into meat paste." This spirit beast with 1 foot, tall body, scales and armor, like a cow, suddenly stepped out. But before he could go 100 meters, he was directly smashed into pieces by a layer of air waves, and gray-blue blood was scattered 100 meters away. Looking at the dead leader of the spirit beast, Luo Fan raised his hand and said loudly, "The leader of the spirit beast has been killed by me. Everyone charge. Kill." The battle ended quickly after Jiang Cheng joined the battlefield. Inside the office, "Honey, in this battle, we killed 4 people at the 9th level, 12 at the 8th level, and countless people below the 8th level." Zhang Ye took the report, pushed up her glasses, and said to Jiang Cheng. Jiang Cheng listened to the data, leaned back in his chair, and asked, "How are our casualties?" Zhang Ye said, 15 of the first-level warriors died, and 102 were seriously injured. 3 second-level warriors were killed, and 12 were seriously injured. The remaining warriors are all unharmed. 27 people died. Jiang Cheng frowned. To be honest, every survivor in the City of Dawn is a valuable asset to him. Even if a level 10 Doomsday Warrior dies, he doesn't feel bad. But the death of a civilian means that he has lost a living force. It seems that the training intensity of these soldiers in our team is still too low. Jiang Cheng sighed, raised his head, and said to Zhang Ye, "Pass on my order. In the future, as long as the soldiers of the City of Dawn join the army, the training amount will be increased by 1/3. 1. Also, we must do a good job in providing pensions to the families of those who died in battle, ensuring that the families of every soldier can receive pensions. For martyrs who have no family members, we must build monuments and erect biographies. I want everyone in the City of Dawn to remember them. These warriors dedicated their lives to the City of Dawn." "I understand, husband." Zhang Ye nodded, turned, and walked out of the conference room to deal with post-war pensions and post-war reconstruction. Everything is going on in an orderly manner. At the same time, Buddha capital. A large number of survivors rushed towards the Buddha square as if they were possessed. Jane and Juanti looked at the tens of thousands of survivors below, with vague smiles on their faces. Quotation: "At that time, I taught in the West another 100,000 Buddhist soldiers, 30,000 satraps, 3,000 Vajras, 300 Arhats, for great Bodhisattvas, 108 Buddhas, and 3 Lord Buddhas. In the past, everyone avoided its edge, but now there are only tens of thousands of mortals. If you want to transform in a short time, you must have a large number of crystals." Juanti: "This time is no better than it was back then. Fortunately, those seals are loose. It only takes half a year to regain the glory of Western religion." Quotation: "It will take another half a year. Half a year is too long." Juanti: "So what if we wait? We are not in a hurry. These 6 months are enough for us to recover our strength and take the next step forward." Quotation: "That's right." At this point, the conversation suddenly changed and he asked, "Do you think that Gai Tongtian can defeat the human race?" "It's hard to say." Juanti shook his head and said, "After all, that human race killed Nuwa. No one knows how he killed her. Even if it was a trap, it should not be underestimated." After saying that, he continued, "However, Tongtian possesses the 4 swords of Zhuxian and is extremely powerful. Even if I fight against him alone, I may not be able to win. He also has a certain chance of winning. On the contrary, if that human race really defeats Tongtian, when the time comes, there will be only one way to deal with this human race." "You mean the 5 saints cooperate?" Jane frowned and said, "The 6 saints, except you and me, have never cooperated. I think the 5 saints cooperate, which is very mysterious." Juanti said with a smile, "All conditioned Dharma, Buddha Dharma, is natural. Everything is possible. Who knows, Tongtian is on the way to escape now." "That's just your imagination," he said. While the 2 saints were chatting, a loud voice came. The 2 saints are so elegant. Listening to the voice, both Jane and Juanti frowned, and a few words came to their minds. When did this person come here? Why wasn't it discovered before? The 2 saints looked at each other and turned to look in the direction of the sound. I saw that the person who came looked strange. The left half of the body was black, the right half of the body was white, and black and white were clearly visible from the middle of the body. "Your Majesty?" Jiang blurted out. But soon he shook his head and said, No, you are not Taishang. Compared to Taishang, your breath is really weak." As he said that, Jane looked calm and narrowed his eyes slightly, with a kind and friendly face, but his eyes were full of murderous intent. He said calmly, "Who are you? Why are you spying on me? If you don't explain it properly, I will let you, there is no return. What a loud tone. When the voice of the visitor came, he was not afraid. Instead, he said with a playful smile, Jiang, I'm not here to joke with you, but I have an important message to tell you. First tell me who you are. Otherwise, why should I trust you? The smile on Jiang's face became even wider, but it became more and more sinister. Taishang Evil shook his head and said, Oh, I didn't expect that after thousands of years, you would actually forget about me. As he said that, his expression changed. The back of the hands and face changed for a while, and then gradually took shape. The gradually shaping face made his pupils shrink, and he said with some disbelief, You are the Supreme, because neither appearance nor breath can deceive others. Even if there was a slight deviation in his strength, his intuition told him that this was Taishang. It seems that you still know me. The Supreme Leader smiled. Knowing the identity of the other party, Jiang and Zhuanti felt at ease. Jiang frowned and asked, Your Majesty, we agreed that we would gather to discuss the crusade against the human race until there is news from Tongtian. Why do you come to me now? Zhuanti also frowned secretly. The Supreme Master looked at the expressions of the two and sneered in his heart. These two fools didn't even know they were about to die. If they were not both of the 6 saints, and he needed the strength of these two people to deal with Jiang Cheng, he would never show up. Then he said, Do you know that Tongtian is dead? Tongtian is dead? This news exploded in his mind like a hydrogen bomb. Their faces showed astonishment. Especially Jiang, who said in a lost voice, Tongtian is dead? How is it possible? Zhuanti also said in disbelief. Sage Tongtian has the 4 swords of Zhu Xian, and he is also the top existence among the 6 saints. How could he be killed? As he said, the 2 saints looked at Taishang. A thought popped up in their minds at the same time. Is this person fooling them? Or is there a secret that cannot be revealed by telling such a lie? So he confirmed again. Sage Taishang, this matter cannot be joked about. Was Sage Tongtian really killed by that human race? Taishang slowly turned from a smile at the beginning to a serious tone and said, I swear in the name of the ancestor god that everything I said is true. Sage Tongtian was indeed killed by that human race. I saw it with my own eyes. Sage Tongtian is really dead. As soon as these words came out, Zhuanti and Jane stood there motionless as if struck by lightning. It was not because they had a good relationship with Tongtian, but because they were able to kill Tongtian. Their strength was simply terrifying. As for the fact that Taishang was spying on them, it was temporarily ignored. After a long time, the 2 saints came back to their senses, looked at Taishang with some fear, and said, Taishang, what should we do next? The Supreme Being slowly raised a finger and said, One word, together. Cooperation is natural, but how to cooperate? Please ask the Supreme Sage to come up with a plan. Zhuan asked. Taishang said, That human race is powerful. I think even if the remaining 4 of us attack together, we may not be able to defeat each other. Not only that, that human race's sensing ability is very powerful. When I split my body into 3, I created Taishang. I went up to observe the battle between Tongtian Saint and that human race 10 kilometers away and was killed by that human race on the spot. Having said this, the Supreme Being was still a little scared. The ability to appear in front of him out of thin air made him still frightened. Since the human race is so strong, how should we deal with it? Zhuan asked. The Supreme Leader thought for a while and smiled. In the battle to siege the city, the most important thing is to attack the heart. If you want to take down that human race, you can't do it head-on. You have to start with the people around him. Don't forget, why did Baiganshur do it in the first place? Dead. The most important thing for human race is parents, relatives, friends, and lovers. So we can start with these people to force that human race to submit. Zhuanyi's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said, What a great idea. Then how should we do it? The Supreme Master curled his lips and waved, signaling for Yin and Zhuanyi to come over. Everyone, please come here. The other side. Shizhou, Kunlun Mountains. A young man in a white robe suddenly stopped and said loudly with his hands behind his back, Sage, if you have anything to say, just come out. Those who are hiding behind me may think you are going to attack me. Sure enough, the words fell. Behind him, a young man whose body was divided into black and white parts walked out slowly. Yuan turned around, looked at the person coming, and frowned. It's you. What do you want from me? A matter of great importance to our lives. Taishang Shan smiled and said, if it is handled well, we will be safe and sound. If it is not handled well, then we will wait to disappear from this planet. Yuan was stunned and said in disbelief, so serious? I really want to hear what happened. Taishangshan said slowly, Tong Tian is dead. Tong Tian is dead? Yuan looked shocked, but then the shock slowly disappeared, and his face gradually calmed down, saying, oh, I understand. Thank you. In fact, huge waves have already set off in my heart. Turn around and prepare to leave. The Supreme Lord looked at Yuan, who left calmly. Not only did he not panic, but he smiled and said, Yuan, aren't you surprised why Tong Tian died? Yuan stopped and turned his back and said, if you die, you will die. Why should I be curious? The Supreme Leader shook his head and said, it seems that the original saint doesn't want to hear the truth anymore, so I won't tell you anymore and take my leave. After saying that, he stepped a little and immediately jumped into the sky, ready to fly away. But the next second, etc. Yuan Ji couldn't help it anymore, turned around and said, how did Tong Tian die? Even if the human race dug a hole, he shouldn't have died so quickly. The Supreme Being smiled and said, look, this is the original saint I know. This is how real he is. Stop talking nonsense. Yuan said coldly. Taishang said, killed instantly by the human race with one move. Killed by humans? Or a flash sale? This human being is too terrifying. The original heart was shocked. The reason why he always doesn't deal with Tong Tian is because he has 4 immortal killing swords. These 4 immortal killing swords were gifts from the ancestor gods. Even if they want to defeat Tong Tian, they still need the power of its 4 saints. So one can imagine how powerful Tong Tian is. Now that Tong Tian has been killed, the news to him is like someone telling him that the sun has risen from the west. For a long time, he calmed down his mood and looked at the Supreme Being in a cold voice. So, why did you come to me? Taishang said, cooperation. It's not yet the time we agreed to cooperate. It would be bad for everyone if we resign. Then tell me. In this way, Taishang told Yuan by one his plans. Just do it. Okay, I get it. Half a month passed in a flash. Since the last war, the activity of spiritual beasts and zombies around the city of Dawn has increased by at least 1,000 times compared to before. Zombies are everywhere now. Occasionally, you will encounter a few low-level zombies running back and forth among the ordinary zombies. But one of them is the most special. She looks very similar to a human being, with almost no difference. The only difference is that his eyes are overall dark blue, which looks very strange. The woman was also holding a human child with half of its face transformed into a corpse and half of its face normal, wandering aimlessly among the zombies. Since there has been no zombie attack for a long time, the hunting team in the City of Dawn has resumed normal hunting activities. Captain, look, zombie. There seems to be a woman and a child inside. A Tianan District Patrol member suddenly looked at the zombie group not far away, then pointed at the zombie group and shouted in surprise. What's all the fuss about? Can't you see the difference between zombies and humans? The captain shouted, turning his head to look. When he saw a plain white face and a little boy wearing crotchless pants next to him, he looked stunned and shouted, "What are you guys doing standing here? Hurry and save people." Word shouted. A soldier from the district patrol team rushed out first and dived directly into the zombie group. Superpower, Steel Blade. After saying that, the soldier's hand immediately turned into a sharp machete and chopped at one of the zombies. Puff! The head of the zombie was chopped off instantly, and the fall of this zombie attracted other zombies around. Roar! Under the continuous attack of the soldier, most of the zombies around were chopped off, leaving only the woman and child surrounded in the middle. Seeing the zombies around being solved, the soldier looked up at the woman wearing a blue tight-fitting long sweater, with long hair covering her face, and her appearance could not be seen clearly, but from her curvy figure, he could tell that she was a mature young woman. Although he didn't know why the other party was trapped in the zombie group, the warrior still stretched out his hand and said shyly, "Madam, we are warriors from the City of Dawn. Now you are safe. Do you want to go to the City of Dawn with me for refuge?" After the words fell, the woman's body trembled suddenly. This made the warrior stunned and a little confused. Suddenly, the woman suddenly raised her head and looked at the warrior. Her face with dark blue pupils, and her mouth suddenly opened and bit the warrior's hand. Puff! The sound of teeth entering flesh sounded. The warrior screamed in pain. Quick! Let me go, get out of here. The warrior kept trying to pull his hand out, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of it, and he could feel a cold feeling spreading along his wrist. What is this? Ah! After finally breaking free from the woman's mouth, the soldier kept screaming, and the veins on his bitten hand bulged out, and the blood vessels turned into dark blue, like tree twigs, and began to spread along his wrist. No, the corpse poison is starting to spread. Cut off the arm quickly. The team leader on the side shouted quickly when he saw this, and then pulled out the second-level Tang Dao from his waist and said, "Brother, hold it back." As soon as he finished speaking, he swung the knife down. Puff! The arm broke off and fell to the ground, and turned gray-blue at a speed visible to the naked eye. Looking at the soldier's wrist, bright red blood continued to flow out. Seeing this scene, the team leader breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. It was almost hopeless. Thinking of this, the team leader took out a bandage from the space ring, walked up to the soldier, and said, "Brother, bear with it." As he spoke, he held a bandage in his hand and wrapped it around his arm several times to wrap the wound tightly. After doing this, the two of them looked at the woman in blue beside them with lingering fear. She stood there again, as if she had lost her soul. It was completely unbelievable that the woman who just bit people like a mad dog was actually her. But then again, what on earth is this woman? Zombies, right? I have never seen a zombie that looks exactly like a human before. It is said to be a human, but this powerful corpse poison is simply not something that humans can possess. Captain, what should we do? Do you want to? The soldier glanced at his hands and then at the captain in front of him, with a stern look in his eyes. The captain thought for a moment, then said with a fierce look on his face, "Then kill him, to avoid harming others." As he said that, the two looked at each other. The captain tightened his grip on the Tang Dao and approached the woman in blue step by step. Just when he was ready to chop it off with his sword, the woman seemed to be aware of the danger. She turned her body to face the flying Tang Dao, opened her mouth, and bit the flying Tang Dao. Roar, roar. The woman's eyes were dark blue, staring at the warrior in front of her, and she kept making low growls. "Xiao, why are you still standing there? Kill her quickly." The captain did not expect that this woman could catch his knife, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not make an inch. You must know that he is an awakened person at the second level, and the Tang sword in his hand is not extraordinary. With his power, he can easily kill the second-level zombies, and this woman could easily bite his knife. This strength alone was no worse than an ordinary second-level death killer. "Yes, Captain." When the soldier named Xiao heard this, he quickly responded, "I understand, Captain." After finishing his words, he yelled, "Superpower, steel blade." The remaining hand immediately turned into a machete and slashed towards the woman's head. Just as he was about to focus on the woman's head, the child beside the woman turned around suddenly, revealing the gray-blue half of a normal human face, turning into an afterimage, and rushed towards Xiao. "Ouch! Hold!" Seeing the child rushing over, Xiao scolded him, then changed the direction of the knife and struck at the child. Zheng. The machete struck the child, making a metallic sound. Moreover, Xiao was even knocked back several steps by the child before he stabilized his body and looked at the child in front of him who was yelling at him in disbelief. "Weird monster." Xiao's wrists were shaking a little. On the other side, when the captain saw that Xiao's attack was blocked, he immediately stopped holding back and roared, "Superpower, arm strengthening." Bang, bang, bang. The muscles of his arms bulged high, and the veins popped out. His strength instantly doubled, and he pressed the handle of the knife hard, trying to chop off the woman's head. But no matter how hard he tried, the blade still couldn't make an inch. On the contrary, such behavior angered the woman in front of him. Woohoo! With a low whimper, the woman bit hard. There was a click. The blade was bitten off right in the middle. The captain's hands were empty, and he looked at the woman in disbelief. His second-level Tang Dao was bitten off. Seeing this, the team leader put the broken blade into the space ring, stepped a little, grabbed Xiao's wrist who was still in a daze, and stepped back. Then he pressed the headset and said, "I am Zhang Wang, the squad leader of the Tian'an District Patrol Team in the City of Dawn, requesting support from the squadron leader. A voice immediately sounded in the headset. Received. Please hold on for 1 minute, Squadron Leader Zhou. Before he finished speaking, a woman's voice sounded in the headset. Okay, no need to go, I'll just go. Lin, Team Lin. Team Lin? Which Lin team? Zhang Wang was still in a daze, but unexpectedly a woman's figure appeared in front of him the next second. You are. Zhang Wang spoke in disbelief, but the woman turned her back to him and said, It has nothing to do with you here. Please step aside first. Zhang Wang wanted to say something else, but was unexpectedly pushed away by a wave of air. By the time he stabilized his body, he was already 100 meters away. What a powerful strength! Xiao, who was pushed away together with Zhang Wang, exclaimed. Zhang Wang looked at the woman's figure 100 meters away and was so shocked that he could not calm down for a long time. He also sighed. I don't know which captain above it is. I don't know. The most powerful captain I have ever seen is the captain of our Tianan district. This one is probably from the Shuguang Corps. Xiao guessed. I can't say for sure. The individuals in the Dawn Guard Corps are very mysterious. I heard that the most common member is at least a 6th level awakener. If I can join the Corps one day, I will die without regrets in this life. Zhang Wang said with a longing look on his face. Xiao smiled and said, Captain, I don't ask for more in this life. To be able to achieve the position of district captain and meet the leader, I feel like my ancestors are smoking. While the two were talking, the woman sighed. The person coming was none other than Lin Ro, who was on patrol. It was also because the city of Dawn was so stable recently, so she came over to take a look when she had nothing to do. Lin Ro stared at the woman in blue and said coldly, Are you a human or a corpse? Roar. The woman in blue did not speak, but raised her head suddenly and rushed towards Lin Ro. Court death. Lin Ro raised her fist and was about to punch out, but just halfway through the movement, she suddenly stopped. She looked at the woman in blue in front of her with disbelief, her pupils trembling crazily. You are. The woman in blue didn't answer, but just bit it. Captain, be careful. When Zhang Wang saw this, he secretly thought something was wrong and hurriedly reminded him. Lin Ro didn't seem to hear it and let the woman bite her. But soon, Zhang Wang found that his worries were unnecessary. I saw. The woman in blue bit Lin Ro's arm. No matter how hard she tried, she could not break Lin Ro's skin. The little boy on the side saw his mother attacking and rushed over. However, no matter how hard the mother and son used their strength, they could not break Lin Ro's defense. Lin Ro, on the other hand, stared at the two of them blankly, and a picture suddenly appeared in her mind. Lin Ro, go back home for me and see if my wife and children are here. Lin Ro, my wife and children will be left to you. Lin Ro, let's go quickly. The colleague and comrade who stopped the zombies and gave her the chance to escape appeared in front of her. Gradually coming back to her senses, Lin Ro looked at the woman and child biting her tremblingly and said excitedly, Wang Wei, I found my sister-in-law, but both my sister-in-law and the child turned into zombies. I can't help you. While muttering, the woman in blue and the child continued to bite fiercely. The two sides were frozen in place. Watch this scene, Xiao said with some uncertainty. Captain, why do I feel like something is wrong with this captain? Just finish speaking. Zhang Wang knocked on a crispy dice shell. Oops. Xiao covered his head in grievance and complained. Captain, why are you hitting people? Zhang Wang lowered his voice and said, You want to be taken to me. Are those people in the Shuguang Corps the ones you should discuss? Can you and I guess the big boss's thoughts? Watch honestly and don't push around. That's right. Xiao muttered aggrievedly, but when he saw Zhang Wang raising his hand, he quickly covered his mouth. As for Lin Ro, looking at the woman in blue and the child, there was a look of confusion on their faces. Logically speaking, when she encounters zombies, she should kill them and not worry about their identities. But there is obviously something special about these two zombies. For example, Wang Wei's wife, the woman in blue who is biting her now, Lan Dai, still has human skin, which is different from the gods and zombies she encountered in the past. And that child, except that half of his face has the color of a zombie, the rest is no different from a human being. Forget it. Let's get it back first and see if my husband can do anything. Thinking of this, Lin Ro looked at Lan Dai and the child in front of her. Under the horrified gaze of the other party, She grabbed the two of them and disappeared directly with a little step. This lord really comes and goes without a trace. Looking at Lin Ro, who suddenly disappeared, Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Zhang Wang next to him also sighed. Such a big boss is beyond our reach. Just as Lin Ro pulled Landai away. Shizhou, Kunlun Mountain. Our spy has already penetrated into the other party, and the first step of the plan was successful. Yuan slowly opened his eyes and said to the other three saints, "Then it's up to me from now on," Zhuanti said with a faint smile. Lin Ro almost instantly caught the two of them at the back door of Shuguang Base. And at this moment, several members of the Dawn Guard suddenly appeared and surrounded them because they sensed two unfamiliar auras. However, when they found out it was Lin Ro, they could only look over as if asking. Lin Ro said calmly, "Don't worry, I have control over these two guys. They will be fine. You can disperse." "Yes, Captain Lin." The squadron leader, who was the leader, responded and disappeared instantly with several members of the Dawn Guard. Looking at it, Lin Ro breathed a sigh of relief, then dragged the struggling two people towards the back door. He said calmly, "Open the door." "Ding, 2 virions have been detected. Please wait." A mechanical voice sounded. Immediately, Jiang Cheng, who was practicing in the gym, suddenly opened his eyes, looked at Xu Guang beside him and asked, "What's going on?" "Captain Lin Ro is preparing to enter with 2 infected persons. Do you want to let them go?" Dawn System asked. "Infectious body? Why did Lin Ro bring the infected body back?" Jiang Cheng frowned and said directly, "Open the backdoor surveillance screen." "Yes." The next second, an extra picture appeared on the gym's display screen. The woman in combat uniform waiting inside was Lin Ro, and she was holding 2 guys, one big and one small, in her left and right hands. However, unlike other zombies, these 2 zombies seemed to be somewhat different from ordinary zombies. On the whole, except that they behave like zombies, their appearance is the same as that of humans. Seeing this, Jiang Cheng became slightly interested, thought for a moment, and said, "Let it go." He wanted to see what Lin Ro was going to do. "Yes, master," Dawn responded. At the same time, the back door of Dawn Base opened in response. Lin Ro was delighted when she saw this and quickly entered the gym. Then he looked at Jiang Cheng, flicked the 2 mutants in his hands, and said, "Honey, do me a favor and get rid of the zombie virus on these 2 people." "This is?" Jiang Cheng asked curiously. When Lin Ro talked about this matter, she said with a hint of sadness, "Back then, when the zombie army attacked the security station, my colleague Wang Wei stayed behind to cover my escape. I promised Wang Wei to help him take care of his wife and children, but unexpectedly, I haven't found any trace of them in 3 years, but now I found 2 people in Tianan district. But now Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang have become like this, so I want to invite my husband." At the end of Lin Ro's words, her tone became weaker and weaker, a little embarrassed. Jiang Cheng stood up, walked to Lin Ro, rubbed Lin Ro's head gently, and said with a smile, "You girl, it's just a trivial matter. Besides, you saved my wife. How can I not help?" As he spoke, under Lin Ro's grateful gaze, he opened the data eye for the 2. Ding. Name, Landai. Age, 42. Race, half-corpse. Level 3 upper. Wisdom, 0.4. Strength, 3,500. Agility, 100. Skill, virus infection. Overall combat power, 3,600.4. Name, Wang Xiaoyang. Age, 6. Race, half-corpse. Level 3 upper. Wisdom, 0.15. Strength, 3,500. Agility, 88. Skill, virus infection. Overall combat power, 3,588.15. Looking at the information of the 2 people, especially the information about the half-corpse in the race, he had a look of interest in his eyes, and then opened the first lower-level universe manual in his mind and began to search. If you don't check, you won't know. Once you check, you will find a lot of information about the half-corpse. Race, half-corpse. Introduction. Half-corpse is only partially infected and not completely transformed into zombie. Usually formed by humans infected by the virus, and this form of transmission is mostly to control the other party and transform the other party into their own slaves. This method is often used by Zhuabinxing people. Humans who are transformed into half-corpses usually have blue eyes and can share vision with the controller. After reading the introduction, Jiang Cheng looked at the two again. As expected, the two people's eyes are blue, and Wang Xiaoyang is probably more deeply transformed, so half of his face has turned gray-blue. Seeing this, Jiang Cheng's mouth corners slightly hooked. Since these guys want to use these two half-corpses to infiltrate their inner circle, then he simply uses the same trick to see what these saints want to do. Of course, it is best to lure out all four saints and catch them all in one fell swoop. Thinking of this, Jiang Cheng turned his head and looked at Lin Ro. Wife, go back to the room and wait for me first. You are annoying. Lin Ro thought Jiang Cheng had something to say in private, so she rolled her eyes at him secretly, and then went to Jiang Cheng's room with a coquettish look. Until Lin Ro left, Jiang Cheng turned his head to look at the two people in front of him, sneered in his heart, took out 2 level 3 virus vaccines, and walked towards Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang. Seeing Jiang Cheng coming, Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang showed fear, grinning at Jiang Cheng, retreating and shrinking towards the corner. Be good, it's just an injection, there's nothing to be afraid of. Jiang Cheng walked over with a smile, and then under the horrified eyes of the two, he grabbed the back of their necks and stabbed them directly. One shot down. The two immediately showed a painful look, fell directly to the ground, and kept rolling, as if experiencing some kind of heart-wrenching pain. First came Lan Dai, with a pair of dark blue eyes that were dim and dim. Looking closely, it was like pouring water into ink, and the dark blue slowly spread in the pupils and gradually faded. The gray-blue color on Wang Xiaoyang's face was also slowly fading. 1 minute later, with a wow, both Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang vomited a large mouthful of black blood. When the two raised their heads, their faces returned to normal, but they both showed a little confusion. Where are we? Xiaoyang. Where is Xiaoyang? Lan Dai muttered to herself absent-mindedly. Suddenly, Wang Xiaoyang next to him burst into tears. At this time, Lan Dai reacted and looked to the side. When she saw Wang Xiaoyang crying loudly, she immediately hugged the child and choked up. Xiaoyang, it's Mom who is sorry for you. Mom has no ability to protect you. Mom, I'm so scared. Looking at the mother and son who kept crying, Jiang Cheng opened the data eye again. Ding. Name, Lan Dai, semi-controlled. Age, 42. Race, human. Level, first order. Wisdom, 1.4. Strength, 30. Agility, 5. Skills, none. Awakening, semi-awakening. Comprehensive combat power, 36.4. Name, Wang Xiaoyang, semi-controlled. Age, 6. Race, human. Level, first order. Wisdom, 0.9. Strength, 28. Agility, 6. Skills, none. Awakening, semi-awakening. Comprehensive combat power, 34.9. Sure enough, Jiang Cheng looked at the information column of the two people and said in his heart, although the virus has been resolved, the two are still in a controlled state. This should be the special means left in their bodies by those so-called saints. As for strength, it is estimated that the virus has been lurking in the human body for a long time and is in a semi-corpse state, causing the human body cells to be stimulated and reach an activated level. After the virus is cleared by the virus vaccine, some of the abilities of the activated cells are retained, so the displayed level is 1 level lower, which is equivalent to retaining a part of the strength. It is really a phrase to describe it as a blessing in disguise. Although the two were controlled, once they were released from control, they would have strength beyond that of ordinary people. At least in such a doomsday, barely surviving was not a problem. And this controlled state is not impossible for Jiang Cheng to release. But now two people are needed to lead out the real culprit behind the scenes, so it can only be put aside for the time being. Thinking of this, Jiang Cheng looked at the two crying people, cleared his throat, and said, Ahem. Ahem. Okay, you are safe now. Hearing the sound, the two crying people were stunned. Lan Dai reacted first, slowly turned her head to look at Jiang Cheng, and when she saw the strange face in front of her and the strange environment around her, her face showed fear again, and then she hugged her son in her arms and said weakly, Who are you? Why am I here? My name is Jiang Cheng. This is the City of Dawn. My wife found you and rescued you. Jiang Cheng explained. The City of Dawn? Lan Dai tried to recall it. He couldn't remember a place called Dawn City, but he still thanked her. Please thank your wife for me. After thanking her, Landai paused and said, I wonder how you will deal with me and my son next. No, I can't say I will deal with you. Jiang Cheng waved his hand and then asked with interest, I'm very curious. Do you know what happened a minute ago? Landai shook her head. Her memory stayed at more than a year ago, and she thought for a while and said, I remember that 3 months after the outbreak of the apocalypse, the supplies in our community had been searched out. I had no choice but to take my son out to search for supplies. Later, I went to Tiannan City with a group of people. We survived in Tiannan City for a month and finally established a survivor camp. As a result, we were attacked by a 3rd-level zombie. In the end, everyone in our camp died. I took my son and fled in the chaos, but we were surrounded by zombies in the end. I don't know anything about it next. Is that so? Jiang Cheng felt that Landai's experience was bizarre. In theory, he established the Dawn City in Linxian more than a year ago, and any survivor in Linxian should not be unaware of it. The second doubt is that she and her child were surrounded by zombies. There was only one end, and that was to be eaten clean. They didn't even have the chance to become zombies. However, they survived and became half-zombies. Either they were eaten by zombies. The gods controlled it, but the gods had not yet awakened at that time, so this was unlikely. All in all, Landai's eyes were sincere. Jiang Cheng had been observing her mental fluctuations while she was speaking, but there was nothing abnormal about her mental fluctuations, which meant that Landai was not lying. All these phenomena point to one thing. That is, this woman's memory has been tampered with. Thinking of this, Jiang Cheng looked at Wang Xiaoyang in Landy's arms. As if feeling Jiang Cheng's gaze, Wang Xiaoyang shrank in Wang Landy's arms, and Landai held Wang Xiaoyang tightly in her arms, fearing that Jiang Cheng would be detrimental to his son. Seeing this, Jiang Cheng secretly shook his head. It is estimated that Landai's memory has been tampered with, and Wang Xiaoyang must be no exception. There is nothing worth asking. But asking too many questions will arouse the suspicion of the mastermind behind the scenes, so he nodded and said, Okay, I understand. Then he turned his back and said calmly, As for your next arrangements, I will ask someone to find you a habitat in the City of Dawn, and I will provide you with appropriate water and food. Arrange accommodation? Also provide water and food? Landai looked unbelieving. Since struggling in the apocalypse for more than a year, she has maintained a skeptical attitude towards all strangers. Because everyone who comes close to her has an agenda, whether they are after her food or her body. She has experienced too many hardships. He shook his head and said, Sir, we, mother and son, can leave on our own. There is no need to waste your resources. Are you rejecting me? Jiang Cheng turned around and stared at Landai with emotionless eyes and said coldly. Being stared at by Jiang Cheng, Landai felt as if he was being locked by a wild beast, with a look of misery on his face. As expected, he did have a purpose. But as long as he doesn't kill me, for Xiaoyang's sake, that's fine. Sighing inwardly, Landai slowly placed her hands on the buttons of her blue one-piece sweater under Jiang Cheng's shocked gaze. With a twist of thumb and index finger, a button was immediately untied. The pair of headlights on the chest lost some restraints and jumped up and down a few times unconsciously. Then, Landai continued to touch the next button, and while untying it, he said to himself, I can be nice to you. I just hope you can let me and Xiaoyang leave later. If you can, please think of it for my sake. Come on, give us mother and son a glass of water and a piece of bread. If that doesn't work, a pack of moldy dry noodles will do. While speaking, the blue one-piece sweater on Landai slowly fell down. A pair of dazzling headlights cannot move the eyes away. Jiang Cheng's body felt a little hot. I have to say that Landai's figure is really good. Although she is already over 40, she definitely belongs to the kind of half-aged lady who still has charm, like a ripe peach, and can pinch out the water. Moreover, more than a year's experience of escaping from the apocalypse not only did not leave any traces of time on this woman, but instead gave the woman's eyes the color of a story. The only shortcoming is that Landy's appearance is a bit ordinary, but among ordinary people, she is considered to be of average beauty, and she is the kind of person who would not refuse anyone from 20 to 65 years old. Looking at Landai again, Landy's blue one-piece sweater has completely slipped off, but because it was in a kneeling posture, It just stuck to the waist, revealing a mysterious scene. Jiang Cheng watched and slowly walked forward. And Landai also closed her eyes, raised her head, and let her clothes be picked by her. But soon she showed a surprised expression, probably because she felt that the blue one-piece sweater she had left behind was draped around her body again, little by little. She looked at Jiang Cheng with some confusion, as if asking why. Jiang Cheng said calmly, "Sometimes, once the clothes are taken off, it is difficult to put them back on." Landai smiled bitterly and said, "If we don't take off our clothes, it will be difficult for my son and I to survive. This body is still worth some money." As he said that, he was about to pull his clothes down again. Jiang Cheng hurriedly pinched Landai's wrist, then shook his head and said, "This is the city of dawn. You don't need to do these things anymore." Listening, Landai looked slightly confused. City of Dawn. She heard the name again. What is so special about this City of Dawn? Jiang Cheng explained in a gentle tone. In the City of Dawn, as long as you are not a vegetable and have hands and feet, you can get food, water, and even housing and new clothes with your own labor. Although the life here and before the end of the world is still the same, there are a lot of gaps, but I can guarantee that it will get better and better in the future. Are the days getting better? Is there really such a place? Landai murmured to himself. Okay, now I will arrange for someone to come over and find a place for you to stay. Then after you settle in, I will also arrange for a former acquaintance of yours to meet you. You can look forward to it a little bit. After Jiang Cheng finished speaking, he said into the headset, "Sister Ya, free up a shanty house and arrange for someone to come over. I have a mother and son who are survivors and need a place to stay." Husband, I understand. Although Zhang Yu was a little confused about the mother and son mentioned by Jiang Cheng, she still followed the instructions and said to a subordinate beside her, "Xiao Wang, do we still have room in the shantytown of Dawn City?" His subordinate Xiao Wang, who was immersed in work, didn't even raise his head. "Commander, please wait a moment, I will check." As he finished speaking, his eyes lit up with a light blue light. Not long after, the blue light disappears. Xiao Wang raised his head and looked at Zhang Ya and said, "Chief, there are still 3 locations in Linxian District and East District Shanty Reconstruction Area." "Okay, you arrange one." Xiao Wang nodded, immediately stood up, and walked outside. Looking at Xiao Wang's leaving figure, Zhang Ya said to herself, "What kind of mother and son need her husband to personally make arrangements? Is he the posthumous son of my husband before his death? It shouldn't be possible. Forget it. No more guessing. For a man as good as my husband, it wouldn't be surprising if he has more women." Zhang Ya thought, curled her lips, and secretly made up her mind that she must let her husband reward herself tonight. And at this time, a squirt. Jiang Cheng suddenly sneezed. I felt an inexplicable coldness behind my back. He rubbed his nose hurriedly. I thought to myself, who is thinking about me? As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the conference room rang. "Leader, please come in." Jiang Cheng turned his back, stood up straight, and said calmly. Soon, the conference room door opened. Xiao Wang walked in quickly and looked at Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang, whose clothes were spread open, and he suddenly understood. It turns out that the leader likes this. No wonder he personally ordered Chief Zhang Ya to make arrangements. However, this is not something that a small team leader like him can speculate on. He quickly said, "Chief, a shanty town has been reserved in Linxian District and East District Shantytown. Well, take them with you. Remember, they just came to Dawn City and don't understand some things. You can talk to them carefully. Try to help them with some daily necessities. Also, ask the canteen to prepare 3 days of food and send them over." Jiang Cheng ordered. "All right, it is definitely the leader's little lover." Xiao Wang's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he was immediately sure. But I have to say that the leader's vision is really good. Although this young woman doesn't look good, her figure is definitely YYDS. At that time, I guess I have to warn the group of bachelors in the shantytown, so that they don't do anything rebellious. Thinking of this, Xiao Wang raised his voice and said seriously, "I guarantee to complete the task. Even if I, Xiao Wang, am torn to pieces, I will take good care of this mother and son." After that, he left with Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang. Jiang Cheng, on the other hand, felt something was wrong when listening to Xiao Wang's words. What does it mean to take good care of this mother and son even if I am torn to pieces? It's not necessary at all. No, wait. Did he misunderstand something? When Jiang Cheng thought of this, a cold sweat suddenly broke out on his forehead. Zhang Ye's half-smile appeared in his mind. This woman has been in great demand since she married him. If he hadn't already reached the 10th level, he wouldn't be able to bear it at all. Fortunately, he made Zhang Ye kneel down and beg for mercy every time. Whatever. Let it be a misunderstanding. At most, I can work harder at night and fertilize these fields. Just as his thoughts were flying, a voice sounded in the headset. Husband, when are you coming? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Damn, I forgot. Jiang Cheng slapped his head, pulled up his collar, and then remembered Lan Dai's body before, and he flashed directly towards the room. At the same time, outside the city of Dawn, Xiao Wang led Lan Dai mother and son out of the base. Blue Dai kept a considerable distance from Xiao Wang, followed Xiao Wang slowly, and then carefully looked at the surrounding environment. I have to say that the construction of Dawn City over the past year or so has been quite good. There are several times more shops on the road than at the beginning, and the shops are clean and tidy. Pedestrians are coming and going on the road, and there is a constant stream of hawkers. It has the style of a 4th and 5th-tier small city in the Great Zhou dynasty in the 1980s. Lan Dai is impressed, lost consciousness for a while. I can't be dreaming. Lan Dai was extremely shocked. She has never seen such a busy street since the end of the world. Not only that, there were children playing and fighting on the street, and people were talking to each other enthusiastically and saying hello to each other. Xiao Wang, what are you doing here? A survivor greeted Xiao Wang. Xiao Wang smiled and said, No, arrange for the survivors to stay in the East District. So that's the case, but under normal circumstances, why aren't the survivors staying here all the time? Ouch! Xiao Wang looked at the location of Shuguang Base and licked his lips. The passers-by immediately understood, looked at it meaningfully, and said with a smile, Then I won't disturb you anymore. Let's go. Xiao Wang waved his hand. Seeing this, Lan Dai couldn't help it anymore and asked in a low voice, My lord, where exactly is this place? I am not dreaming. Xiao Wang raised the corner of his mouth, with a touch of pride on his face, and smiled as he walked. Many survivors thought they were dreaming when they first came in, but we can have such a life thanks to the leader, who let us rebuild the city of Dawn and gave us a stable and safe life. Leader? Are you talking about that young man? Lan Dai couldn't help but think of a handsome face. She could never imagine that such a young and somewhat excessive young man could actually build such a city in the apocalypse. It was really amazing. And judging from the proud expression on the staff's face, this leader, they should be worshipped. Then what kind of person is he? Lan Dai asked curiously. Xiao Wang thought for a while and said, The leader should give me the feeling of being strong and friendly. Speaking of this, Xiao Wang sighed. You don't know. Actually, outside this city, zombies are still rampant outside, spiritual beasts are raging, and many gods have resurrected to eat humans. Even half a month ago, we the City of Dawn also experienced a zombie wave, and the leader was said to be a god above the 10th level, but without exception, he was eliminated by the leader. Above 10th level? Lan Dai couldn't help but take a breath of cold air after hearing this. Although her memory only stopped at more than a year ago, she knew clearly what it meant to be above the 10th level. The leader of the survivor team she led was an awakened person, and her strength reached the 2nd level. Every time she encountered zombies, the magical methods like gods were still fresh in her memory, and this was only the 2nd level. She couldn't imagine how powerful it was above the 10th level, but what was certain was that it was absolutely terrifying. It goes without saying that one is capable of defeating beings above the 10th level. Lan Dai felt a little more at ease. After all, this city is under the protection of that young man, so it must be much safer than other places. In this way, her future life will definitely be much more stable. Next, the two of them chatted repeatedly. Is City of Dawn very big? It's so big. Our City of Dawn is composed of 4 pre-apocalyptic cities: Linxian City, Tianan City, Jiang Cheng, and Seoul. Its area is the size of a 2nd and 3rd-tier city before the apocalypse. Then besides the leader, who are the other powerful people in our city? Of course there are, just like Captain Yang of the Dawn Guard Corps, Captain Luo, and Captain Lin of the base, and of course our Chief of Affairs, General Zhang, etc. In short, there are many strong people in our City of Dawn. I dare say that the entire blue star has it's not as safe as our city of dawn. That's it, Londai murmured. As the two chatted, they arrived at their destination before they knew it. As soon as Xiao Wang stepped forward, he pointed to a low-looking wooden house in front and said, "No, this is it. This will be your home from now on." Home. Londai felt a little dazed for a moment when she heard this word. Over the years, I have been hiding in Tibet and living happily every day. Now she was told this was her home. She still had a hard time accepting it. In her impression, home should be a family of three sitting around the table having fun, but after the apocalypse broke out, her husband disappeared. In fact, she could roughly guess what was going on, but she still didn't want to accept it. But overall, I think I will have a small place to live in the future. Let's go, don't hang around, I'll show you around. Xiao Wang's voice sounded again. Londai came to her senses and quickly pulled Wang Xiaoyang to follow. Open the door of the cabin and walk inside. These board houses were used by Jiang Cheng as rewards to those Shuguang soldiers who had achieved military exploits when the Shuguang base was first established. However, later on, when the base began to build new houses and living areas, the owners of these original board houses also moved out to a living area with better conditions closer to the central area. These board houses have become obsolete products of the times and have been left behind. However, Zhang Yu did not throw these board houses away, but used them as shanty towns to accommodate and arrange new survivors to live in. It can be said that these board houses are the novice villages of survivors. Wait until they settle down here, and then earn crystals to buy new houses. It all depends on the individual. Londai followed Xiao Wang in and looked around. The area of this board house is not large, about more than 30 square meters. There is no public area in the future, but it looks very spacious overall. And the facilities are complete, including kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, living room, everything. There is also a living room. Although there is no TV, there is a radio for listening to the news of the City of Dawn. In the bedroom, there is a wooden bed without bedding, and it is covered with a layer of dust. It should have been uninhabited for some time. Xiao Wang looked at her, frowned, and said, "Wait a minute, I'll arrange for someone to come and clean up for you, and also give you some daily necessities." Londai listened and waved her hand quickly, saying, "No, no need, I can do it myself." Before she finished, Xiao Wang interrupted her, saying, "It's okay, our chief will arrange daily necessities for every survivor who comes here. This is a routine." "Is that so?" Xiao Wang pressed the headset and said, "Xiao Zhou, Xiao Li, prepare 3 days of food and water, as well as clean clothes and other basic living items. Arrange for someone to pack them up." Do you need so much?" The person in the headset said puzzledly. Xiao Wang frowned and said, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Just go and get it when I tell you to." TSK. Isn't it your relative, Captain? You're asking for a beating." Amidst the laughter, Xiao Wang hung up the call, then turned around and looked at Zhang Yu and smiled. "Don't worry, someone will come to deliver supplies to you in a while. The amount is for 3 days, and basically there will be basic living items. After 3 days, the rest of your life will depend on you. Can I ask you, what should I do?" Londai asked. When Xiao Wang heard this, he hurriedly said, "I almost forgot to tell you. It was my negligence. In our Dawn City, there are many ways to get food, such as becoming a hunting team logistics, going out to help collect zombies, spirit beast crystals, collecting herbs, etc., and then the hunting team will give you the rewards you deserve. This is the first way. The second way is to go to the commercial district to work, and those shop owners will also pay you. The third way is to accept tasks in the task hall, which has large and small tasks, and you can choose whatever you want." After saying that, Xiao Wang paused and continued. "As for the rewards, they are zombie crystals and spirit beast crystals, which have many uses. You can go to the official cafeteria of the Dawn City to exchange for food, and you can go to the task hall to exchange for daily necessities. If there is a surplus, you can go to the task hall to exchange for martial arts secrets or genetic medicine to become stronger, which will also facilitate you to accept tasks later." After that, several staff members wearing Dawn City combat uniforms walked in from outside the boardroom. Everyone was holding items of varying sizes. Some were mattresses, some were toothbrushes and toothpaste and toiletries, and some were kitchen supplies. In short, they were very complete. The head of these staff looked at Xiao Wang and immediately joked, "Captain Wang, I brought the things. Remember your kindness when the time comes." "Go away. This is what the leader asked. Don't think about it." Xiao Wang said disdainfully. "Do you think I believe it?" "Believe it or not." The two said a few words, and then the staff put the items down. Before leaving, Xiao Wang said, "Put these things here, and then it's up to you." After that, he left under Lan Dai's stunned eyes. Until these staff disappeared from her sight, a small hand on her right side gently pulled her back to her senses. "Mom, I'm hungry." Lan Dai came back to her senses, looked down at Wang Xiaoyang's pleading eyes, and then looked at the supplies placed in the middle of the room, and suddenly a hope of life rose in her heart. The voice was firm, and a smile appeared on her face. "Okay, Mom will do it for you right away." Dawn base. On the big bed in Jiang Cheng's room, Lin Ro looked at Jiang Cheng with a face full of reproach and quietly reached into the quilt, pinched a piece of soft meat, and twisted it 180 degrees. Hiss! Jiang Cheng gasped in pain. He begged for mercy. "It hurts. Let go. Who told you to do this in the daytime?" "Really, I didn't prepare at all, and I didn't take a shower. So dirty." Lin Ro rolled her eyes at Jiang Cheng and retracted her hand. Jiang Cheng leaned over and smiled. "Who told you to look so delicious?" "Okay, stop being a good kid here. Tell me quickly, what's the matter with letting me in? I'm busy, and I have to go to Tiannan for patrol later." Lin Ro said unhappily. Jiang Cheng said, "Do you remember the mother and son just now?" "You mean the couple from Wang Wei's family?" Speaking of this topic, Lin Ro's face showed a trace of worry and asked, "How did you arrange for them?" "According to convention, they were arranged to go to the shanty town." Jiang Cheng spread his hands and said, "Shanty town." Lin Ro frowned and said, "Can't they be arranged to live in the living area of the base?" After all, Wang Wei saved her life, and she wanted to give the mother and son a better position, which was also a way to repay Wang Wei's kindness. Jiang Cheng explained, "Originally, we were going to arrange them there, but there was a small accident." "Accident?" Lin Ro frowned and asked, "What accident?" Jiang Cheng said, "Come, I'll tell you." As he said that, he leaned over to Lin Ro's ear and whispered softly. Almost 5 minutes later, Lin Ro's face showed a look of surprise. "Are you telling the truth? How can it be false? The mental fluctuations are abnormal. It should be one of the 6 saints. Now we don't know what they want to do. But one thing is certain, because last time I killed the Tongtian saint and killed the clone of the Supreme Saint, they are probably afraid of me, and then they are ready to change their tactics." Jiang Cheng said here, with a sneer on his face. "A saint is so mean. But on second thought, this kind of thing has happened in history. In the conferred God War, Nuwa sent the 3 monsters of Xianyuan tomb to disrupt the government in order to destroy the Tang dynasty. Now it seems that the 3 monsters of Xianyuan tomb should be some kind of spiritual beasts. What are we going to do?" Lin Ro asked. Jiang Cheng said, "Hold the troops and see what the other party wants first." Then he looked at Lin Ro and said, "As for you, my wife, you have to visit him when you should, and don't reveal the slightest flaw. It would be better if you can use the blue butterfly to lure out the saint." "I know." Lin Ro nodded and prepared to get up. Who knew that a big hand hooked her thin waist? With a scream, she fell backwards. Almost an hour later, Lin Ro glared at Jiang Cheng fiercely and walked out neatly dressed. It must be said that a woman who has been moisturized has a good complexion. Lin Ro's face was rosy and her skin was white and rosy, just like 2 cherries in the lychee flesh, tender and tender. Meeting Zhang Yao on the way made the other party envious for a while. Walked outside the base. Lin Ro took a step and instantly arrived 100 meters away from the shanty town. Then she saw a board house in front of her. A woman was holding a big red basin and washing clothes outside the door with a washboard. Although the woman's face was dotted with sweat, the corners of her mouth were raised, revealing a happy look. The child next to the woman was sitting on the ground obediently, drawing by himself. The whole clothes were quiet and good. Lin Ro looked at this scene with a dazed look in her eyes. She had a good relationship with Wang Wei and would occasionally go to eat with her colleagues, so Lan Dai and Wang Xiaoyang were very familiar with her. But the acquaintances of the past had become what they are now. Her husband had passed away, and she and her children were controlled by the saints. It was a tragedy. It was estimated that if the saints behind them were eliminated, they could return to normal life. Thinking of this, Lin Ro walked over slowly. "Who are you?" Londai wiped the hair hanging down from her forehead with her forearm and looked up in surprise at the woman wearing a combat uniform standing in front of her. She felt vaguely familiar and could only ask tentatively. Lin Ro's body trembled slightly, looking at the mother and son in front of her. Even though there were thousands of words in her heart, they finally turned into one sentence. You don't remember me?" Londai carefully looked up and down at Lin Ro. The name was about to come out of her mouth, but it seemed like there was a layer of film between her, and she couldn't remember it. She could only shake her head. But thinking that the clothes of this little king were similar to those of the little king who brought him here before, even more gorgeous, so he quickly stood up, wiped his wet hands casually on his body, and said at a loss, "Look, I just talked, and didn't even offer him any tea." With that said, he turned around hurriedly and walked towards the house. Etc. Lin Ro spoke hurriedly. Londai turned around in confusion. Lin Ro thought for a while and said, "I won't drink the tea. I came here to see how you and your son are doing. Now that I know you have settled down, I feel relieved." Said, "If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me in the mission hall of Lycian district." Lin Ro turned around and said a few words before disappearing from the spot. Looking at Lin Ro disappearing, Lon Dai stood there in a daze. Wang Xiaoyang, who was beside him, tugged at the corner of her clothes and whispered, "Mom, who is she?" Lon Dai came back to her senses, looked down at Wang Xiaoyang beside her, rubbed her son's head, and said with a smile, "Mom doesn't know who she is either." Having said this, he looked towards the direction where Lin Ro disappeared and said to himself, "Maybe he is your father's friend." I secretly noted this woman's face in my mind and prepared to ask someone when the time came. Wang Xiaoyang listened to Landy's answer. His childish face looked downcast. "Dad." Returned to Dawn Base. Lin Ro went directly to the conference room. Pushing open the door, he met Jiang Cheng's handsome face with a smile on his face. "Have we just met?" Lin Ro nodded and said, "I've seen it before." Jiang Cheng asked with great interest, "How do you say that?" Lin Ro shook her head and said, "You don't know me." Jiang Cheng comforted him. "Actually, it's normal that I don't know you. After all, it's been 3 years since the apocalypse broke out. You haven't seen each other for more than 3 years. Even old classmates and old friends will have a vague impression, let alone it's my colleague's wife and children." Listening to Jiang Cheng's explanation, the sadness on Lin Ro's face dissipated a little, and she forced a smile and said, "I know, but looking at the life of this family now, I feel a little uncomfortable." Jiang Cheng stood up, walked over, hugged Lin Ro tightly, and said softly, "In this troubled world, there are many people who are not living a good life. Without you, their fate may be even worse. But you see now that they have moved into our city of Dawn, at least they don't have to worry about safety anymore." "Yeah." Lin Ro hummed softly. Jiang Cheng continued, "Besides, we have a long time to come. You can visit them more in the future and bring them something. But this doesn't comply with the regulations." Lin Ro hesitated. Jiang Cheng smiled and said, "The rules of Dawn City are set by your husband, but it is not your husband who has the final say on how to do it." "Thanks." Lin Ro tightened her arms around Jiang Cheng. The other side. After drying the clothes, Londai took Wang Xiaoyang out. Following Xiao Wang's prompts, he asked nearby residents and soon found the location of the canteen. It is a 2-story building. The facade looks very spacious, about 50 meters long, and the doorway is supported by 6 5-meter-high stone pillars. There were many people coming in and out, most of them wrapped in the skins of spiritual beasts, with short knives or black guns hanging on their waists. Looking inside through the cafeteria door, there were several long queues inside, and it looked like they were all for food. Just when Lon Dai was hesitant to go in, suddenly a familiar voice came from the side. "Ms. Lon, do you want to get some food?" Lon Dai turned around and saw a smiling face. It was none other than Captain Wang who had led them to the shanty town. "Huh? I remember I prepared 3 days of food for you." Lon Dai's expression tightened upon hearing these words. At this time, Captain Xiao Wang's eyes lit up, and he said, "You are here to visit, right?" Lon Dai nodded quickly. Captain Xiao Wang said with a clear face, "It's simple, just follow me. I just came over to get food from work, and I would like to introduce you to the situation here. After all, our leader." There was a hint of teasing in Xiao Wang's eyes. Landai didn't explain either. She was in her 40s, so she naturally understood. It's just that she has just arrived, and with the mysterious aura of the leader inside, she is more secure. Although it is not true, and it may be exposed in the next second, this is not a problem that she should consider. Thinking about it, Landai thought about the woman who came to see him before. She seemed to know him. Besides, she was dressed very gorgeously and her status in this city must have been high. Maybe she knew Captain Wang in front of her. She then asked, "Captain Wang, can I ask you about someone?" Xiao Wang showed an interested look and said, "Tell me about it. I know most people in this Dawn City, of course, excluding the survivors who just moved in." Landai tried to recall Lin Ro's appearance and said, "She is a woman with a ponytail, wearing a blue armor, with a good figure, sharp eyes, and a daunting look." Ponytail. Could it be Captain Li Qingwan? No, no, no. Captain Qingwan is usually very gentle to people, so it shouldn't be her. Speaking of which one has a sharp eye, it should be Captain Lin Ro. Thinking of this, Xiao Wang asked tentatively, "Does that person look fierce?" Landai nodded quickly. Xiao Wang then said, "That's right, it must be Captain Lin Ro." Speaking of this, he looked at Landai with some excitement and said, "Speaking of which, it was Captain Lin Ro who saved you." "She saved us." Landai was startled by something in her heart, and when she heard the name Lin Ro, she felt as if she had heard it somewhere before. She frowned and tried hard to recall it again. Suddenly, a vague face appeared in his mind. It was a silly-looking little policeman, her husband's apprentice. Her husband would usually bring her back for meals. The girl seemed to be called Lin Ro. Could it be that? But think about it again. The little policeman in his impression and the woman he went to see today definitely have two different personalities. However, in this chaotic world, it is not impossible for a personality to change so much. After all, anyone who has experienced some major events will change more or less. Landai felt that the answer was about to come out. Moreover, on the day when the zombie crisis broke out, she clearly remembered that her husband had just finished talking to her at the police station. Maybe. So she asked impatiently, "Can you take me to see Captain Lin Ro?" Xiao Wang shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, Captain Lin Ro is of a very high rank and not everyone can see her. I need to ask for instructions from the higher-ups." Landai also realized her own gaffe and waved her hand quickly, saying, "It doesn't matter. We can meet anytime." Xiao Wang listened and smiled again, saying, "In fact, Captain Lin Ro often patrols the Lincian district. We may run into her someday. Besides, after I ask for instructions, I believe it won't take long for the higher-ups to know about it. You can stay here with peace of mind." Landai nodded. Laojun Mountain. In a cave somewhere, a strange-looking humanoid creature sat cross-legged on a stone bed. His body was divided into two colors from the center of his eyebrows to the bottom, half white and half black, just like the Jing River and the Wei River, with clear boundaries. Suddenly, the humanoid creature suddenly opened his eyes, and the yin-yang pattern of his eyes flashed with disbelief. Then his expression changed, and he suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha. Human, you really have the ability to restrain the ancestral god virus." As the laughter died down, the humanoid creature said to himself, "The target has been penetrated, and the human race slaughter plan has officially begun." After that, he closed his eyes again, and a light blue halo bloomed around his body, and he fell into a deep sleep. After all, the demise of the Supreme Self was also a big loss for him. Buddha City. On top of a world-famous pagoda, two withered mummies sat cross-legged on the top of the pagoda. Suddenly, the two mummies suddenly opened their eyelids, and a pair of yellow eyes were full of smiles. Great goodness! Kunlun Mountain. Yushu Cave. A handsome young man with white hair and beard and gray-blue skin sat cross-legged on the stone bed, like an old monk sitting still, motionless. Even when some reptiles crawled across his forehead, he did not move at all, as if he was dead. Suddenly, the young man curled his lips and murmured to himself, "As expected of the Supreme, I can look forward to it next." August 10th, 2025. It is the last dog days of summer. The weather in Lincian is a bit hotter than in previous years. However, because of the spirit gathering array, the City of Dawn is not that hot. It is 8:30 in the morning. In the City of Dawn, there are shops on both sides of the street. And with the encouragement of Jiang Cheng, the street stall economy is gradually developing in the city of Dawn to facilitate those residents who do not have shops. Xiao Wang went out early. Carrying breakfast in his hand, he walked on the street, listening to the endless hawking on both sides, and the big and small figures he was about to see. He was in a happier mood. Suddenly, a voice came from the front. "Captain Wang, you got up so early?" "Old Joe, you don't know. Our Captain Wang is in heat." Listening to the teasing in front, Xiao Wang raised his head helplessly and said, "You too. Stop making fun of me. This is a task given by the superiors. We have to do it." But he didn't realize that when he was talking, the smile on his mouth never disappeared. That's even more incredible. What's the word? Use public power for personal gain. Yes, that's it. As the two joked, Xiao Wang cursed angrily and then walked faster. However, in the eyes of the two members of the affairs team, Xiao Wang looked more like a runaway. But this situation is not surprising to everyone. Since the outbreak of the apocalypse in 2022, the population has decreased sharply. The originally unbalanced ratio of men and women has reached an outrageous level. Let's talk about the city of Dawn. There are 4 districts, and the total population is only a little more than 50,000. This is even after the number of newborns increased by more than 1,000 for 3 consecutive years. As for the death of the population, there were only dozens of people. In the end-of-the-world escape, the elderly were eliminated early, which directly led to the fact that there were basically no people over 65 years old at the beginning of the establishment of Dawn City. Of course, my father, Qin Yang, was not included. Let's talk about the ratio of men to women. According to Zhang Ye's statistics, the ratio of men to women in Dawn City is 300 to 1. That is, only one man can find a wife for every 300 men. In addition, life has been getting better and better in recent years. Basically, as long as a woman is a mother in Dawn City, there will be a large group of young men pursuing her. For this situation, Jiang Cheng did not deliberately coordinate. Survival of the fittest. Courtship is also an item in the competition process. Of course, another reason is that with the increase in the number of awakened people in Dawn City and the effect of the gathering spirit array, the lifespan of new people has already exceeded the original limit of human beings. For an ordinary person, without practicing or awakening, he can live to 120 years old safely. After cultivation, lifespan will increase exponentially. So it will become normal for a 78-year-old man to be with an 18-year-old girl. This way, Xiao Wang fled through the commercial district. Soon he arrived in front of a board house in the shantytown. The house was not big. A child was playing with a basketball at the door. A beautiful young woman in her 40s was hanging clothes next to her. Because the weather was a little hot, the young woman was wearing a long-sleeved shirt that was washed white. The sleeves of the shirt were rolled up high, revealing a pair of arms like white lotus roots. Raised her hands to hang clothes. The sweat beads slid down from the pretty cheeks, then slid down from the cheeks to the neck, and finally sank into the half-exposed car lights. Gurgle. Xiao Wang swallowed hard. As an awakened person, his strength was far beyond that of ordinary people. He even caught a glimpse of the purple-red color deep in the sweat beads. As if she felt Xiao Wang's gaze, the young woman turned her head to look. When she saw that it was Xiao Wang, she immediately smiled, raised her wrist to wipe the sweat from her forehead, and walked towards Xiao Wang enthusiastically, with a slightly reproachful tone. "I told you not to bring it. There are still a lot left at home." Xiao Wang smiled innocently. "More is better, just in case." As he said, he raised his hand and handed over the things in his hand, saying, "The beef pot cake that just came out of the pot today, and the freshly ground soy milk. While it's hot. Okay, don't buy so much next time, we can't finish it." Londai rolled her eyes at Xiao Wang in a charming way, took the things in Xiao Wang's hand and walked towards the house, and at the same time called out, "Don't stand outside stupidly. Come in and have a drink of water and eat together." Okay. Xiao Wang nodded quickly and followed quickly. Wang Xiaoyang, who was playing on the side, saw Xiao Wang coming over and also whispered, "Thank you, Uncle Wang," then lowered his head and followed into the house. Xiao Wang was no longer surprised by this. Just think that it is a psychological barrier caused by Wang Xiaoyang living in a dangerous area surrounded by zombies for many years. Then he walked into the door. What caught his eye was a wooden table against the wall, with benches on 3 sides of the wooden table. Xiao Wang consciously walked to the bench opposite Lan Dai and sat down. Just like a family of 3, although they lowered their heads and ate breakfast without saying a word, there was a warm atmosphere. After breakfast, Xiao Wang hurriedly said goodbye and left. Lan Dai was lost in thought as she stared at Xiao Wang's back as he gradually went away. She murmured, "It would be nice if you were my man." As soon as she said that, suddenly, she stood there in a daze, and even Wang Xiaoyang next to her kept the posture of preparing to take the basketball, as if the time in the room had stopped. The eyes of the 2 people were flashing with a faint blue light. The end. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And don't forget to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you.